Hello everyone and welcome to Wowhead Weekly number 213. I think I just accidentally clapped. Hopefully that wasn't too loud so it wasn't too noticeable. My hands just went together, maybe because I'm happy, I don't know. It's our first show since BlizzCon. I'm very excited to be here, not only because of that, but also because we have some awesome guests today. But before we go into who that is, let me introduce myself. I am Annie, or Annie Fuchsia, full-time streamer on Twitch, and also your weekly Wowhead host. I also have a very, very lovely co-host with me every single week, so let's introduce her, Perculia.
Hey everyone, I'm Perk. I have a cat, Brightpaw. He's here. We're both very excited to be here. And we've had a real amazing BlizzCon, tons of stuff to talk about. It was really awesome seeing so many people at BlizzCon enjoying our coverage. But we had even more special guests, not just Brightpaw. We have, you may have heard of them, may have seen them at, I don't know, the Q&A. Please give a warm welcome to Taliesin and Evitel.
Hello!
Yay!
We needed one. This one is just as badly behaved as yours. Oh no! Stop! Oh no! Toro is so badly behaved.
Oh no, that's adorable.
Don't report us for that.
Oh, okay. I see what you did there.
He's okay.
Yeah, he's okay.
Brightpaw's like all angelic and like, look at me.
Right, like, I'm the goodest boy.
Don't try this at home, guys. No pet throwings, okay? No, it's wonderful having you guys here. We've been with you guys here before in the past, and it's always been a pleasure. So having you here, thank you.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I can't wait for you to tell us exactly what we're going to put in the weekly reset this week.
Exactly.
I've got a dictaphone.
Wait, we're supposed to tell you?
Script.
You're here to tell us.
Oh no! Oh, there's been some wires crossed.
Oh no!
Yeah, like you got like the live weekly reset last week, and this week everyone gets to watch us play in the weekly reset.
Yeah.
Great to be here. Thank you, guys.
Always awesome to be here. Thank you.
We have a few topics to talk about today. We've got some PTR updates. We have some Shadowlands highlights.
Lights would be cool too, though.
Oh, Shadowlands. That's almost a paradox. Sounds cool though. Anyways, we also have some BlizzCon to talk about since we haven't really had a show since then. But
yeah, we
first
had that
off,
PTR build too. So
yes,
yeah,
so there's actually been quite a few things. We can jump into some news to do with actual live game first. We have WoW's 15th anniversary event, which is currently live in-game on Retail WoW with a bunch of different rewards that you may want to go pick up.
Do we have to talk about retail? No, I'm sorry. I can't be the only one who since BlizzCon now, I'm like, listen, I've always said that 8.3 was like my dream patch, right? Nyalotha, tentacles, N'Zoth, awesome, like, fleshy things. That's all I've ever wanted. This is like my actual dream patch. I'd give it up tomorrow. If Shadowlands could happen, I'd be like, 8.3, schmate point schmee. I'd skip it. I would, honestly.
It's amazing how you forgot.
I'm so easy.
I know.
They show me some Lich King. They show me some snow.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm like,
Honestly, I relate with that too, because it does feel a little bit like, at first, the idea of fighting N'Zoth was so epic, and now I'm just like, okay, yeah, that's soon.
And they're delaying it too, so we get 2 months of the anniversary, and then N'Zoth and all that is in 2020, which feels
and we'll be
like
so hungry.
I know.
I know.
They're like, you're gonna want this.
Yeah.
We're gonna make you beg for it.
Did you guys have a chance to play some of the Shadowlands? Because I feel like as exciting and everything Shadowlands is, the gameplay itself, there wasn't that much ready for us right now.
It was pretty basic. Yeah.
It was.
It was just a guided tour of a bit of a zone, wasn't it? Really.
Just a tiny part of basically.
Yeah, we played.
Do you think that's worrying? Do you think that means we're gonna have to wait even longer?
Nah, it wasn't sort of designed to be something that you tested or kind of like tried out or got to the bottom of, or got used to systems or anything like that. It was literally just a showcase.
It's just
it?
a bit of flavor.
Yeah,
and
it's like
I
test
think
drive.
they knew exactly what they were doing because you had the little owl people, the stewards.
Yes.
And like,
The owl people.
wait,
Mhm.
like give them something to talk about.
Yeah.
It's like break out the little owl
Yeah.
guys, like carry, and we're like, oh my gosh, someone had a really cool fox. I was totally sold.
Yeah.
Like, I think they knew what they were doing with putting that little bit of content out.
All right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they didn't have a demo. I think people would have caused drama around not having a demo. Like, is it so far off? No demo. Blizzard taken unaware by their own convention.
And, like, it's a demo, not a beta.
Yeah.
So
True. I was hoping for a little bit of an insight into like new abilities and talents. Maybe not necessarily new abilities, but the abilities that were going to be given back.
Right. Yeah.
And talents itself.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that it's still some kind of revamp that they're going through, which is probably nowhere near final yet, so they just didn't want to.
No,
Right.
for sure. That's always one of the last things to actually happen, isn't it?
Well, I mean, also in past demos, they've introduced some things, and people really run with it, and then are surprised.
Oh yeah,
when
and then
it's different
people,
from the
yeah.
yeah, like there's all those abilities that came back. I think in BFA.
Yeah, like
in the
Mark
demo,
of the
but not
Wild, I
all made it
remember.
back in. Yeah, so maybe they wanted to just have it be more controlled, so people wouldn't like leap to conclusions about stuff coming back that wasn't
And
coming back.
if you created one of each class in that demo, which you could do, you could cycle through all of the different class specific Bastion abilities.
Yeah.
And try those out.
But why would you make one of each character if you can just make a warlock?
Well, exactly. And that's the thing. Yeah.
You can also see the really sweet resurrection animation too. That
Oh,
everyone was
yeah.
asking about. Like,
Oh, yeah, that's
what
true.
do you do with the spirit healer in Shadowlands?
Yeah, exactly. And like, and seeing what happens when you die. Someone managed to get back to Ice Crown and have a look at the sky there.
Wait,
which was
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, someone from Reddit. They
Oh, I
posted-
missed that.
That was cool to see.
Yeah, it was
Cool.
pretty awesome.
Well,
there was
frozen.
some interesting stuff in there, but it was essentially just a kind of, this is Bastion.
Yeah, and
Look
we got
how
to see
heavenly it is.
we got to see what happens when you die in the
Yes.
Shadowlands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quite a few times.
Yeah. I had to really try the first time, but after that, it happened quite regularly.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I can't attack people. Let me enable PvP. Oh, okay. I'm stuck now.
I like the demo signs being like, you can preview Dire Maul. I'm like, oh.
Oh,
that was
yeah.
before things that happened.
That's funny.
They were like, do you want to do Dire More or do you want to do Shadowlands? And you were like,
Right.
oh,
Yeah.
come back and- can we think about, we're going to talk about this and come back later and let you know.
Yeah.
I also noticed the ability that they gave us warlocks was arcane damage, which feels very, very strange as a warlock because we never have arcane damage. So that was
That's
interesting.
because the ability they give mages is shadow damage.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Mm.
They're just messing with you.
Huh.
Yeah, everything's
Playing with my
upside down.
feelings. Yeah. Not cool. No, but then they did have this class-specific things too, so I know that it's not necessarily a mistake. I think the effect was if you kill the target with a dot on it, then you gain 5 soul shards or something similar. So it was definitely a warlock ability of some kind. With arcane, apparently, it's interesting. But yeah,
That was
so
like a copy paste from something old. But yeah.
The
Go on.
previous
Yeah.
one was pretty underwhelming for disc.
oh yeah, what
um,
was it?
It allowed you to it made your casts instant for like 8 seconds.
Oh.
But it had a 2-second cast. So
Oh,
in
you
practice,
cast for
in
2
about 6
seconds.
seconds.
Okay.
It's all right. I'm sure like you could line it up with some interesting stuff, but
But 2-second cast is so boring.
no.
Like it feels so clumsy. Like rather have a longer CD or like shorter effect or something.
Because you're like, oh, I'm gonna get some instant casts up in 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
Like you didn't even actually bother going through the spell book and putting the right like spells onto your bar. You were just like keyboard mashing the whole time.
Oh, hang on, that's my
Oh, truth coming
I
out.
would do some high level play. Ask anyone. The VOD is there. You can go and watch it.
Yeah.
I think I'll ask Evitel.
They were like, Tally, you're so good at this game, and I was like, I know.
No, but it sounds like you guys did have some fun, so that's awesome to hear.
It was wicked.
Yeah. I'm excited to see more though. Right?
Yeah, me
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Me too. For
Yeah,
sure.
like, totally whet my appetite, and all I care about now is covenants and like soul binds and conduits and stuff like that, and that's what I really want to think about. And then I going through Wowhead earlier today and seeing all the 8.3 stuff. I wasn't as excited as I wanted to be, but I'm getting there again.
I know.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get that. I think the excitement will come back once things have settled a little bit. I think we are still hyped from BlizzCon, and 8.3 is probably still a bit away. So until then, I think it'll feel exciting again. Because I have felt a little bit of a I don't know if disappointment is the right word, but no, I don't think disappointment is. But a word of like less excitement, like as if something has been bad but it's not really been. Like I'm not that excited anymore to fight N'Zoth, but I think it'll come back again once the patch actually is near us. And I have not been raid testing. No, I don't normally raid test, honestly. I normally watch others raid test.
It's so beautiful.
I have seen I've seen some pictures.
Everyone that's kind of put in there has just been super hyped for it, and like the fights are good currently, and it just feels like a zone as much as a raid, by all accounts, because I refuse to do raid testing. So.
I just hope N'Zoth is not gone afterwards, because it felt like such a huge deal, and then now we're talking Shadowlands.
Some of the broadcast text makes it seem like I don't know. I think it could set it in the future for him to come back.
We do have some broadcast texts.
And always on our hearts and on our heads.
Yeah.
You care about your transmog too much.
Exactly. I got rid of that ages ago.
But me, I'm going to be wearing that ever.
Yep.
I mean, wearing that eye forever. It doesn't matter what happens. If they say, like, if all the after raid text is like, oh, N'Zoth got obliterated and he's definitely never coming back. So dead right now, and Ian Hazakostas gets up on stage and is like, yeah, we decided that we're not going to see N'Zoth anymore. And
that is how he speaks.
If that happens, I'm keeping that thing on my head just in case. Basically, I can't wear like any transmog forever
for
on my main. On my main.
Three expansions.
No, for the rest of Warcraft, World of Warcraft, and beyond. I like even if they move on to a Warcraft 2 or something, like a World of Warcraft 2 or Warcraft 4, that thing is staying on my head just in case. I don't know.
You don't know.
You don't want N'Zoth coming back in 2026 and you not wearing the eye on your head.
2026.
I feel like this would be a good time for Annie to pull up the things we have from the notes with a nice image actually showing stuff related to the gift of the
spoiled the plan already. It took us 30 seconds. We spoiled the plan, and I'm sorry.
So we learned things about Gift of N'Zoth on the PTR, which was exciting. Do you have the info up, Annie, or should I? Can I read them?
Do you mean the broadcast texts?
Yeah, the broadcast text. Since we're already discussing it.
Yeah, they might as well.
Things on the list.
Yeah, we skip right to page 2.
We had a plan, a table of contents, and then Taliesin and Evitel happened. So now we're jumping.
Sorry, Taliesin happened.
This is how we go.
Taliesin happened.
You were very good. You're a pro.
Thank you.
Everyone said so. Steve Denusa said so.
All right. Let me just get this up. You can start talking about it.
So I thought the timing was really interesting because you asked about that at the Q&A, and he was like, wait and see. What the exact line was, be yourself and see what follows. And then in the next PTR build, we have all this lovely broadcast text.
Oh, he said, aren't the whispers their own reward? And I was like, no.
Yeah. They are.
I'm going to need some kind of blessing.
A little more than
like,
that.
I'm going to need, like, you know how like Sylvanas Loyalists got some proper one-on-one time with Sylvanas? I need at least that. I need some proper one-on-one time with N'Zoth. You know,
like all they sound so sad. It's like in the whispers. Why can't I read? Oh yeah, it's like he can't be dead. We still carry his gift. Please whisper to me. We need your guidance.
Oh, I know it breaks my heart. And that's the thing. Like the broadcast text, and these are NPCs, aren't they? That when you talk to them.
Yeah.
And if you've got the eye on, like you get some unique sort of voice lines or text lines that come your way, and it breaks my heart because there's nothing there that says like, well, that's the end of that. I guess I won't be wearing this eye anymore then, and that's what I need if I'm going to stop wearing the eye.
Yeah.
Like this is not final enough.
Trust in him.
Well, it sounds
Because I will trust in him.
I know you
And I'm never gonna have a proper transmog ever again.
Yeah. No, it's they say he can't be dead. We still carry his gift.
Yes,
See?
well,
So,
I guess I'm gonna then.
yeah, Nazoth isn't dead because people are wearing his eyes.
So if Nazoth is back, it's your fault.
Yeah,
probably.
pretty much, and I'll take that one for the team. But all I'm saying is, when Nazoth does come back, you know, in like when was the? Okay, how long ago was Cataclysm? That was the last like Old God expansion. We had
Like almost 10 years.
2010. Yeah.
So another 7 years, we'll have another Old God expansion. Nazoth will come back. I'll keep the eye on my head that whole time.
Sounds about
And
right.
no one else will have. And like as the years go by, more and more people request to cleanse it so they can wear a proper transmog and things like that. So, like when I see someone, because it's rare enough that I see someone wearing the eye now.
Yeah.
But if I see someone, you know, in 5 years' time wearing it, as we're waiting for, you know, Tuskar's the Black Empire, I see someone out about wearing that eye, it'll
Can't wait
mean
for that
something.
one.
It'll be so special. It'll be so good. And then when Nazoth eventually does come back, he'll be like, "Oh my, you're still wearing the eye," and I'll be like, "Yeah." That's my cutscene.
Then you
There's
get some
also this,
epic items to help you in battle.
There's also this interesting line. I don't know who says it, but it's the void deals in potentials possibility. Perhaps this Nyalotha is not so much a physical location on Azeroth as it is a vision waiting to be made real.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, is this whole raid just in our heads? Is this just like an extended vision of Stormwind? And there's also that Reddit interview where they asked if the old gods were dead, and they were again like, they go somewhere. Maybe we'll see it sometime. Just like
yeah.
So
And so fitting that we're going to Shadowlands. It's like, is anything ever dead?
yeah, well, it's like everyone could be coming back. So I don't know. Maybe some followers of the old gods we would meet in Shadowlands too.
Yeah, so these quotes here were examples of different responses that people who are followers would get if interacted with NPCs, and then we have examples of texts that non-followers would get. There's a lot fewer of them. Leave me alone. I don't recall welcoming you into my home. If you don't mind, this is a private conversation. So there it is.
Yeah.
Nice.
I like the one that's like, for a limited time only, swear your undying allegiance to Nazoth for additional discounts.
Yeah, I love that.
People get like, I don't know, repair discounts in the raid if you have the eye on. It's like, oh, you know, one less gold for that. But yeah, since we're discussing the broadcast text, do we want to discuss the other one in the notes?
I was gonna
or do you guys
say.
want to discuss something old gods? Yeah.
Yeah, it's up to Tally and Evitel.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do have some of the other broadcast texts right here. I guess we might as well jump into them. Feels fitting.
Oh, is that
Yeah.
the Valor stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dark Ranger stuff.
Yeah. Well, do you want to give us the heads up on that? What's that all about?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I can get the pictures up, and Perk, you can
I will explain.
introduce it.
Right.
Yes. So what's happening here?
So Valinara is a Dark Ranger, and we've had hints that she might do something in BFA at some point because there was like a Scarlet Halls data mine scenario and some quests where Morgoth is asking us to help her on both the Alliance and the Horde, and that she's such a nice Dark Ranger, even the Alliance should help her. But that never really went anywhere. But now we have more dialogue with her, which I think could, I don't know, maybe hint that the storyline could be moving forward again. And it seems that we are asking her why she is staying in Orgrimmar, and she appears to be loyal to the remaining Horde and not Sylvanas. And he has an interesting line where she's like, oh, I refuse to be a slave to this torment, which is flipping around Sylvanas' original line of, what are we if not slaves to this torment? And previously in Legion, she was talking at the Hunter Order Hall about how when she died, at least she was at peace, and then Sylvanas pulled her back into damnation, and she didn't really seem 100% on board with Sylvanas. Even then, she appeared to prefer, you know, not being pulled back to be a Dark Ranger. So now she's chosen her own identity, and she says that she stands with both the Sindore and the Forsaken. So that's caused a lot of discussion, because people are like, oh, I thought that, you know, she was the most prominent Ranger. She should always follow Sylvanas. But yeah, no, she seems totally loyal to the Horde, no, whispers like for the Dark Lady. I know there's some people in Orgrimmar that were like, oh, they have the special whispers, but she seems totally loyal. There was no extra data mining hinting that she
and the
was
important
putting
thing
on
is
a front.
there are still Dark Rangers with Sylvanas as well. So
Yeah.
Blizz are totally covering their bases with this and keeping some that players can come into contact with in like a friendly way, and some that they'll be able to come into contact with in Shadowlands in like a less friendly way, I guess.
Yeah.
The option of having like a Dark Ranger skin for Blood Elves or something is always there still in the future. They're just keeping their options open with this, clearly.
Yeah.
Which is quite a clever thing to do, I think.
Yeah, I don't blame her for being upset. Like, being dead might be a little bit nicer than being undead in a lot of ways, right? And if you have to make that choice.
Yeah, like she was like, oh, I fell in battle. At least I was at peace, I suppose, for a time, until the Banshee Queen pulled me back from beyond and damned my soul into her service. You'll have to pardon me if I have little patience for imbeciles like Morgoth, who take for granted what they have and think to find happiness in pain. So that was from Legion. So it's like, yeah, it's natural that maybe her feelings of discontent have progressed now in BFA. And yeah, there was that leak floating around of the, pre-purchase Shadowlands and unlock the Dark Ranger skin. And in retrospect, that was a Chinese Warcraft 3 asset of Sylvanas that was photoshopped. But
okay.
They put that leak together, like a example of how easy it was to make a leak.
Yeah.
And spread that around. But I mean, like people have got a thing about Dark Rangers. They're like cool and sexy and awesome, and there's still a lot of getting your head around the fact that not all of the Forsaken automatically want to follow Sylvanas all the time. I feel like if not before, there were seeds kind of planted for that in Before the Storm, the novel, where it just showed the autonomy that a lot of the Forsaken have, and just getting on with their own lives, and the fact that the whole kind of joining the Forsaken and following the Dark Lady, that was years ago. I mean, that was over 15 years ago now. And loyalties change and priorities change. And when you've been living in Undercity, even if you are like a high-ranking Dark Ranger, if you've been living in Undercity with your peoples and things like that, it kind of makes sense that you would have an affinity with them over some leader who's just kind of gone a little bit crazy and called you all nothing. I mean, like,
yeah.
You just want to sit there and like sew your arm back on. Doing this for the millionth time.
Yeah, I mean, like she says, we trusted her, followed her commands. It is clear that her loyalty was never truly reciprocated. So,
and that's important, particularly for like a ranger, because that the whole kind of like ranging on kind of trust in your comrades and your colleagues and like in your fellow rangers, your sisters in arms sort of thing. So to like, no matter who she is, if Sylvanas is seen to betray that, that's like a really big deal.
Yeah, and it's interesting because she was a follower in Warlords of Draenor, and I know no one remembers followers or their text, but there was a line that she was
had a few hundred.
She went to Warlord to serve Sylvanas and prove herself to her, and she was moving up in the ranks. Like she was a lowly quest giver in Vanilla in Scarlet Monastery, and then she wanted to prove herself in Warlords, and then somewhere in Legion she started, I don't know, thinking more about what she wanted. So nice little character arc for her.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, I hope they add the Scarlet Halls quest line for her, because that was interesting. Like we had a map for it, we had some NPCs, we had I think 2 or 3 quests that were part of it, one for the Alliance and one for the Horde, talking about how awesome she was and we should all help her. And her brother was in trouble somewhere. We needed to rescue her brother from there. So it'll be interesting to see if that ever pops up as maybe a secret or something part of the pre-raid event. Not pre-raid, pre-expansion event.
Always nice to get a bit of background info on characters that most of us have probably forgotten.
Yeah. And this has nothing to do with anything mega important, but Wrathion has some more lines, including one where they added like the clicking angry lines when you click on him too much.
Oh.
So he's like, you do realize I am a dragon, yes, that I can breathe fire, just making sure. I am beginning to understand what drove my father mad. So very important Wrathion update.
Yeah.
All of these are clicking on Wrathion lines, aren't they?
Yeah.
The initial one. Yeah.
I think the first two are well, we could talk about Wrathion and the dragons and just keep jumping around in the notes to totally make a mess of them and the head of the curve mount stuff.
The better mess, the better.
I'm gonna be quiet until we started each subject from now on. Into each subject before I talk about anything.
Good call.
I've said my piece. I've talked about N'Zoth. I'm gonna stop.
Okay. Well, we can just hop a little.
It looks really nice.
We can hop a little earlier in the notes and talk about Wrathion and some of his lines and how that could tie into why there is a dragon mount for Ahead of the Curve.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so Wrathion has these lines, which are: the old gods have been vanquished, yet there were only one threat to Azeroth, many others to loom on the horizon and lurk in the shadows. But know that from this day forth, the Black Dragonflight will honor its ancient charge and stand in defense of the world along with its champions. So,
pretty final as far as the old gods are concerned, you'd have thought.
Right.
I mean, not saying like,
but there are more threats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're probably hiding somewhere that we don't know about.
Yeah.
Or I've got a feeling we haven't seen the last of them.
Yeah.
It's pretty final, isn't it? They vanquished. They're gone
well,
now. They dead.
Good thing Wrathion is such a good judge of what's success and not. Like, oh yeah, we got a free garage. Oh, this wasn't. Why did Varian choose peas? This is not my plan.
Khadgar take on this. Khadgar always knows.
Oh yeah, I miss Khadgar.
At the end of WoD, Khadgar was like,
I miss him.
Not seen the last of them.
Yeah.
Boom! Literally, next expansion trailer.
Yeah.
You're right. Right. I'm not going to rest. I'm not going to give up hope until Khadgar's had his say. I'm not taking that eye off until Khadgar's given me his opinion. Just how vanquished they are.
Everything back to the eye.
Yeah. But it seems like Wrathion from these lines is still interested in helping us, and with many others loom on the horizon and lurk in the shadows. And then we also data mined this mount that implies Wrathion's been uncorrupting things, and it's interesting. So why don't we show the mount on the screen? The
ahead of the curve mount. Yes, here it is.
By the way, this is just like informed data mining, not me being like, oh, it said in the notes it's ahead of the curve. But I think it's ahead of the curve because it's from a quest and it has an item associated with it, and with ahead of the curve you turn the item in, and it seems related to the raid. So Wrathion apparently has this is an uncorrupted void wing, which Wrathion has cleansed the spawn of Vexiona, and the flight has an uncertain future. And yeah, I think it's the head of the curve mount, but that leads to the question of, usually they tie into the next expansion somehow, so are we getting dragons in Shadowlands too?
Oh.
Because this feels very,
Listen, okay, I love dragons. Dragons are great, especially this glowy purple one. This one's amazing.
Yeah.
But for me, the single most appealing thing about Shadowlands is that it's completely new. It doesn't have to be tied to any other lore, really. It's kind of the continuation, maybe the climax of the whole Sylvanas thing that's been going on for arguably 10 years. And that's enough. It kind of explaining her actions for the last couple of years, all the tying in that it needs. I don't want to see, much as I love them, I don't want to see old gods in there. I don't want to see N'Zoth in there. I don't want to see Titans in there any more than we really have to, although they're going to be a part of it, obviously. I don't want to see dragons in there. We can do Dragon Isles in 10.0. That's cool. That's fine. Bring them on. I'll be totally down with it. But I just really like the idea that we're going to this place and it's this infinite realm, and the zones aren't even connected, so there's no running over a mountain, and you were in Tiragard, now you're in Stormsong, which is a shame because I love that stuff. But they're all these different things, and they can add them as much as they want, and there's nothing holding them back, and they can keep an entire expansion completely contained in the Shadowlands with all of this new lore and new stuff, and they don't have to kind of go back to anything. And for me, that's super exciting. And don't want dragons. I love them.
Mhm.
I
I
love
think there will be a little bit of dragons.
I think clearly that is the case. It's a
I
shame.
get what you mean though, because it's like a completely new. It's not just a new zone. It's like a new type of place. Like what's the word for it?
Like they can introduce a lot of new lore as well. It's not constrained by what we know about Azeroth.
Yes, yes,
so,
yes. A lot of new, really weird things. A new realm. Yes, that's the word I was looking for. So they can definitely go really, really crazy with whatever they introduce, and it would make no sense, but make sense at the same time, and it would be perfect. So I get that. Having dragons is like, we've always had dragons. Like maybe wait until like the Dragon Isles, for example, and having a more focus on it. So yeah, I definitely see what you mean. The dragon model itself, I think, is kind of boring, but I do like the voidy color of it.
It's so voidy and glowy. It's
Yes.
awesome.
It's pretty.
But the model itself is kind of boring. Like I don't know. That's
It reminds me of the Nether Drakes from
It does,
Burning
yes.
Crusade that only
I
PvPers
love
could get.
those.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm biased. About that.
Yeah, I don't know. There was something about, like, for example, the head of the curve mount that we had for Legion wasn't
Yeah,
completely.
that's really,
Yeah, that was
that
Antorus.
was beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
I mean, I guess you could make a case for the Void Dragon. Like the story of the Heart of Azeroth in 8.2 and 8.3 has been about bringing back together the dragon flights and kind of like getting them all like assembled in the Chamber of the Heart and stuff like that, and finding Wrathion and helping him out and leveling up his rubbish cloak, and then get where he can uncorrupt dragons. So like, there's an argument that as a curve mount is
makes sense.
relevant to the current context
for sure.
what the Antorus mount was.
I just feel like the
think-
Antorus mount was a lot. It felt more unique in its like color and model. Because the model itself has barely been used. There's a few mounts that are similar to like the Rookmar mount, but that one itself is very rare as well. And maybe a couple other birds like it. But like the dragon model itself just feels a little bit like. It doesn't feel very new.
The Legion one was just the moose. You know, it was the
you're right.
And then they had a recolor of that.
And the one before that was a wolf, right?
Very
Warlords.
dusty, like amazing flying moose.
Yes.
Like for a very long time, the only flying moose in the game.
Wait, really?
Yes.
It was? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. Okay.
It's a beautiful thing.
Little like hoof prints it would leave behind. Yeah, it was.
But yeah, I feel like maybe.
Wait, did
the
it actually
dragon
leave
mount-
hoof prints?
Yeah,
like
in the air.
Little
In the
glowing,
air.
Purple,
Okay.
glowing. Like,
I think I just always assumed it's such a boring model. I never used it, so I never
know,
realized
right?
Right.
what else did you do at the end of WOD?
that.
There's literally nothing else to do. You did curve, and then like they
Challenge
added the
modes.
boost to curve like 2 months after the raid. Right? So everyone already had curve, and the expansion was dead. Everyone had moved on. We were on a raid break, and we had to go back and do curve again, so we could all get our moose.
Honestly,
And then
it's
nothing to do for a year except just fly around, leaving awesome sparkly hoof prints in the sky.
it's funny you mention that because that's like one of the very few times that I did sort of take a break from the game. I had just started streaming and I was convinced to play Hearthstone and I was hooked on that for a few months. And I came back when the beta for Legion was out. And then I got hooked back. And World of Warcraft sucked me back in. No, but it's funny that you mentioned that because that's maybe partly also why. Like I felt like there wasn't that much to do, and the moose didn't feel special, but apparently it was more special than I thought. I have to go and check out the hoof prints now.
Where people are helping each other get curve and stuff. Oh, it's brilliant. It's great.
Yeah. I do want to point out that sort of like the moose, how it relates to Legion could be how this dragon mount relates to Shadowlands, because the moose didn't feel, it's not super connected to Legion, but there's that thread that we have the Grove Warden, and then we talk about the Emerald Dream Nightmare in one raid, and then the mount from Emerald Nightmare is like the evil moose. So maybe there's a little bit of a dragon thread where, I don't know, like Bolvar has the history with the red dragon flights, even back in Legion when he's resurrecting dragons, that was killing them. And, you know, the dragon flights are back. There's a lot of dead dragons. Maybe Ysera is an Ardenweald. So maybe there's a thread with that, but it won't be the main focus of it.
Yeah, I think Bolvar's going to crop up throughout the expansion as a B plot. I think, I've said this before, but I think Bolvar is Shadowlands' version of Sourfang. In that, like, you're going to have a whole B plot where every major patch we get one of those cinematics, because that's a very nice model that they use.
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah,
A
they gotta
lot
get
of
their money's
effort
worth
in
from it.
that.
Not to go back to that.
Yeah.
A real shame to waste that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I've just got a feeling that he's been our guide in Shadowlands, but he's also going to be, like at the beginning of 9.1, he'll be like, "Oh, I need to go and talk to my daughter," and you'll go and do a little mission there, and you'll do
Oh,
this.
I can't
thing,
wait for that to
and we'll
happen.
get a little
Actually,
cinematic where
No,
he's like,
Bolvar and Anduin. You can use both models.
yeah, I mean,
right?
I love the
High-res.
cameras too. Yeah,
And then, of course, there's going to have to be some resolution to the question, what happened to Bolvar's nipples? Right?
wait, what's wrong with him?
I
like,
mean,
with
I don't know.
Are they just gone, or?
With Bolvar, it's literally the hump for his nipples. And then there's only one. Where's the other?
I mean,
Who's
where
got
did
them?
they
Alex
go?
Strauss has got them.
I feel
Oh
like
my
he needs a new
God.
in-game model too, so we'll have to see
Oh
what
yeah, I
happens.
can't wait
oh,
for the
okay,
in-game
yeah.
models.
Yeah.
Wearing like the proper the damnation armor, it'd be amazing.
Since we've been
Yeah.
jumping a little bit, should we jump into the part where we have an art piece of Bolvar?
Yeah, I think we should.
If I can
So,
find it.
we're go-
Yes, I found it.
Yeah. So what we're going to show on the screen now, Brightpaw, don't eat the mic. What we're going to show on the screen now is a piece of official Blizzard art that was done for Game Informer. They've got like a month-long like series of stuff that Blizzard gave them to reveal, and they have this piece of art,
Looks
which
amazing.
I think really implies that he has to play a larger role because they're just featuring him so much. It's not going to be like, oh, Varian, and then he died, a month into
It's his voice in
the
the
story.
trailer as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Man, he looks great.
Mm-hmm. All those details, like you were talking about. Like, why put so much emphasis on details if you're not going to use it in cinematics?
Sure. No, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, you know how every major patch, like 8.1, 8.2, we'd get a Saurfang cinematic?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, like, super photorealistic ones. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you now, I'm calling it now. Like, we'll get Bolvar cinematics in the same vein. And he'll
There
have
it
his own
is.
little theme music that plays, like the Saurfang music,
Ooh.
and it'll all be very sad because he'll be like, oh. And it'll be amazing. Bolvar is the new Saurfang, I'm telling you.
Okay.
I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling it.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, we'll remember that.
I like how
We'll remember that.
Saurfang doesn't have shoulders and Bolvar doesn't have chest armor. So
Together they are really showing off like the new transmog system. Like,
Yeah.
giving a big drop of highlights. Yeah.
It's like, why doesn't he have chest armor? Well,
He has no chest armor, and also he has no helm.
Aww.
Aw.
Or maybe he does, but they're hidden.
He didn't-
Transmog
but he
system.
didn't choose to hide it though.
Yes.
Aww. He didn't
Yeah,
choose to.
it got busted.
He needs the repair vendor.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, I need to repair the helm. Poor helm.
But yeah, I feel like this ties in well with the Lich King voiceover audio files.
I think so,
talking
too.
about Bolvar's role. Yeah. So we before BlizzCon, we knew that there were hidden voiceovers between the Lich King and the Ebon Blade High Lord.
Mhm.
And right, Paul, why are you stealing the show?
Mom,
and-
I want to be on camera.
Yes, no Death Knights. Lich King, Bright Paw. And then after BlizzCon, we actually heard what they were, and it makes sense why Blizzard hid these because it sets up the allegiance between the Ebon Blade and Bolvar now leading the Death Knights. So why don't we listen? Why don't we can listen to it for chat, and then we can talk about it a little.
Yes, please.
Let's do it.
I'll play the Lich King one first, and then the Darren Mograine straight after.
Yep.
So let's jump into this.
In life, you were a hero to your people. For their sake, you made the ultimate sacrifice. But your duty to Azeroth is not yet complete. More is demanded of you, a price the living cannot pay. This is the hour of your dark rebirth. Death's power grows. Rise and become my
That was that one, and then the second video right here. Oh, I see you.
Dire times call for new allies. You come from a strong people. No doubt you will serve the Ebon Blade well. It seems the Lich King has sensed the same truth as we have. That a rising threat stalks us from the shadows, and that we must bolster our ranks to face it. There's little time for ceremony. Take up your blade and prove your mettle. Conquer the darkness. Become its master. Many in this world will fear you, revile you, but they need you more than they know. Go forth and claim your destiny, Death Knight. And through all the trials you endure, suffer well.
Okay. Oh, look! Your pet is back. Oh! Aw, he wants some attention too.
Ooh, you stay down there. Oh, course. Sorry.
Oh, okay, there we go. We have sound now. I think we're muted for a moment, but there we go.
Oh,
Sorry
yeah,
about that.
Totoro meow.
Well, you missed our amazing joke. That was like hours in the planning.
Oh no. I think I wasn't muted, but yeah, I think you were muted. Sorry about that, but hopefully it was still nice. It was still
I'm sure the
nice.
cat will come back.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
So cute.
I mean, this is before like the Shadowlands cinematic. This stuff happens. Like we realize that all of the new Death Knight scenario stuff happens before the Helm of Domination is
Right,
broken.
but apparently, based on I think what Mr. GM got in the interview and what we got in our interview, it takes place like very, very soon before. So maybe some of the raised.
You'd be gutted if you were Mograine. You'd be so gutted. He's like, yes, new allies. Oh, here we are, a new age of the Ebon Blade and the Lich King working together. I've got a really good feeling about this. I think
And then
it's
you
gonna
all
work out
die.
really well. Our forces combined, wind, water, heart. Go, yeah, it'd be amazing.
Oh,
And
no.
then literally, boom. It's like when you start working for a new company or whatever, you get a new job and they go.
Oh no, bad decisions.
It's like, oh look, your character is like the Death Knight dying in the start of the cinematic. Good job.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, at least we made it into the cinematic.
Yeah.
The only way that could be better is if the Shadowlands cinematic, instead of the Scourge like all going towards Sylvanas at the top of Ice Crown, it was like all the new Death Knights. If it's like Hammer Death Knights and like Zandalari Death Knights, and they were just instantly killed, all of them.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
it's like we were gonna put new Death Knights in the game, but well, you saw what happened.
Yeah. But yeah, they both sound pretty optimistic about this, and it's cool how they took the lines from the original experience and kind of flipped them around to like say a lot of the same things, but in a more optimistic, less evil vein. So yeah, it's like, oh, claim your destiny. Oh, dying cinematic, but
I've got a good feeling about this alliance.
Yeah.
Those baddies, they're not gonna know what hit him. Me, Mograine, and you, the Lich King, together, nothing can stop us.
Oh.
Do you think it's a bit of a wasted opportunity, though? Because now you've already got the exact same problem that you had with DKs in Lich King, was that they are very much tied to a certain expansion and a certain storyline, which means that you've got the exact same problem. Any races that get put into the game now, you can't make them Death Knights. Because, if they weren't around...
Well, after we get the N'Zoth Returns expansion, we're going to go right after the other
And
Lich King,
2026.
and then, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So, but there's always that thing of whenever a new race was introduced, they couldn't be Death Knights because they weren't there in Wrath. And now you can have the exact same thing. So, I feel like it's a real kind of waste.
Well, Demon Hunters too.
Is there a bad thing
Demon
though?
Hunters too. They're just stuck in Legion.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
Any race, say, obviously a new race. Off the top of my head, I know Tuskars. Next expansion or whatever. you know, it'll be the same old story. But like, oh well, they can't be Death Knights because you know they.
I mean, I guess they could retcon it slightly or be like, oh, we asked all the dead citizens of Azeroth to come back at the Death Knight and help us, and oh, you're, you know, you were dead at this point, even though you weren't with the Alliance, you know, so you
sure,
get rest.
I guess.
I feel like sometimes those kind of limitations can be cool too, because it like reminds you of what happened and like reminds you like actually your race couldn't have been there because oh yeah, that makes sense. Because like sometimes
people want to play DKs on the new races though.
I thought it was so, looking back, it was so clever. Like, not clever, but it was tricky at Blizzard how they were like, oh, allied races cannot be Death Knights. We don't know what we want to do with them. Maybe Dark Iron Dwarves. And now it's like, oh, you had this master plan to, you know, Shadowlands was in the works, and now you can pre-order and be the Death Knight. So they had this all planned out, but they had their poker faces on. So.
Yeah. Very good poker faces.
I like how the original zone is staying put if you were one of the original races, because I know a lot of people were very sad thinking that the whole like forming of the Ebon Blade and Ashbringer and all that would have been lost if you know, that went away. So that was cool.
Also, some people were worried because it said level 1 through 10 is like a new starting area. People were worried that you'd lose the original starting areas of the different races, but apparently those are staying there as well, so you get to choose which one you want to do, and I think that's really cool.
There's a big emphasis on choice for all of the new levels.
I had a laugh. I think Squishy, he was going to do this. I don't know if he's still planning on it. If you're listening, Squishy, we still want to see this. He wanted to splice together all the mentions of player agency and make a little video of that. And the part that did me in was that in the Diablo 4 panels towards the end, they started saying player agency too on the screen. So it's just like the buzzword of BlizzCon 2020.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. So,
That and appreciate. We appreciate you guys playing this. They said appreciate a lot.
I felt loved at BlizzCon this year. I don't know. Maybe that was a good thing because I'm like, oh, everyone's saying they appreciate the site. This never happens. So usually I get demanded to do more things.
Yeah, we need to tell Perk more often that we appreciate the site.
We appreciate you, Perk.
Yes, we appreciate everything you do, Perk.
You have such agency.
Appreciate you. Let's see. Any 8.3 stuff we should mention before we veer into Shadowlands completely? Oh, I want to talk about Pepe and the Bee.
Of course you do.
Yes.
Yeah, let's get the Pepe shot out. Very, very adorable.
He's so cute.
Let's see, where is it?
Oh, why am my arm small? 1 second.
There we go. Santa Pepe. So adorable.
Oh my gosh.
Got the presents backpack, the little beard, the Santa hat.
Swirly, snowy effect going on around him
snowy
as well.
effect, yes, good point.
Oh my word, I can't
He's
even.
so cute.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sad. I don't know. Maybe they can hotfix him in, but if 8.3 isn't until 2020, that means we don't have this Pepe in December. We have to wait a whole year for Pepe.
True.
No, that ain't happening.
Although maybe this is the hook. Maybe this is the way they're trying to keep people in the game
for a whole year to wait for Pepe.
Yeah.
Wait for Pepe.
He's definitely gonna be part of the Winter Veil, surely.
He must.
Yeah.
Wait, when does Winter Veil end officially?
I mean, do I look like Wowhead? I don't know.
Well, only there was someone like Wowhead here who could tell it.
Yeah.
The Feast of Winter Veil. Go faster. Starts on the 16th at 10 a.m. and ends on the 2nd at 6 a.m.
Okay, it's feasible.
2nd of January.
It's feasible.
I mean,
okay.
is it?
If they want 8.3 on the 1st.
There is no way.
Like, release it. I can imagine New Year's Day, perfect time to release a really big patch.
I would be very surprised. Yeah, that's a perfect plan. So we can see Pepe for 1 day. We just make sure that we release 8.3 on January 1st, okay?
Worth it.
Yes, we make the players fall in love with Pepe, and then they'll stick around for another year just to see Pepe for more days. It's a plan.
Possible.
Think of the playtime metrics.
Yes.
Think of the monthly active users. Dealing with that Q1 slump.
Pepe.
On a more serious note, though, the Jordan Powers and everyone's making a big deal that this Pepe has beard physics. So when he moves his head, the beard moves. And remember a few months ago, we were like, oh, this Wrath backpack is doing something new with visuals. Wouldn't it be cool if they apply it to other things? And now we have, like, everyone has a backpack. So it makes me wonder if the beard physics on Pepe, if, I don't know, like, are there going to be, like, beard things related to the customization in Shadowlands? Or are we going to see this physics used for other stuff?
You're right.
I would love more beard options on every race.
That's
one of my big things. I want beard options.
Beards with physics.
Go to town
with
with
physics,
beard.
exactly.
Like, because humans have very limited beard options. You know, and I'd like to see, you know.
I can definitely see that happening.
Your beard physics are pretty boring. So,
I thought you were gonna say your beard physics are limited.
I didn't know humans. You meant like IRL humans or other humans because you were like pointing at yourself. So I wasn't sure.
I want to make sure that my real life beard matches my in-game avatar beard. Yeah, so like I get more options in game. Maybe I'll grow a proper beard. Who knows?
IRL.
And speaking of that. That is something that Blizzard is going towards as well, something that a lot of people are probably very happy about. More customization options for humans so that anyone can make their character look more like themselves, which is awesome. They're going to add a lot more details to eyes, noses, mouth, and maybe face shape too. I don't know. Because at the moment, it feels a little bit like when you're choosing face, it's like, how angry do I want my character to look? Or how old? How old or angry do I want my character to look? So then, like, personally, I end up using the same face in every character.
Totally. And it's funny because they get, like, angrier the older they get.
Yeah.
Until
I don't blame them.
The oldest one, which is really chilled out.
Yeah,
it's really funny. Like, you look at the faces, and they're getting older and angrier. And the oldest one, they're like,
It's like I gave up. I no longer grind AP. I'm very zen now.
Yeah,
I don't care.
I got to 70.
I gave up on that a while ago.
But with the human options, and there's been a lot of, like, you know, obviously there would be a lot of talk about it, and whether it's like lore specific and things like that, which doesn't matter anyway. But it's really useful that we've got Classic to compare it to, because actually going back to the human customization in Classic, it's very noticeable how much easier it was to make humans that looked racially different from each other. Like, you could make humans that look like genuinely Native American, that looked like genuinely like Asian or African, in a way that you couldn't when the new models came in. In what was it? No.
Wait, really? So the older models have more variety, you mean?
Yeah. Seriously.
I've never taken notice. Okay.
I mean, I think we were discussing this even with the goblins. I mean, like, they're less tied to an exact race, but we were like, hey, all their faces kind of look the same now, and their lips are the same. Like, they, in the name of making things stylistically coherent, they lost a lot of the unique
variation
details that stood out between faces.
And when the new models came in 6.0 for humans, that you could still use all the different skin tones, but all the faces looked very Caucasian, which they didn't in Classic.
There's a little more,
and it's really useful that we now have Classic there to compare it to, where you go, actually, in a way, we're kind of going back to how it was before, like that,
with a few more pixels.
So
that's really interesting. I actually never thought about that. I guess I was just happy that whatever face that I was using suddenly looked better, you know. So I didn't put much notice into all the other faces. But that's interesting. Then it's about time that this happens then. If it was already a thing before.
Face for a long time, because I thought she lost some personality when they swapped. Like, she looked prettier, but I don't know. I turn the old models on for a while just because she seemed more, I don't know, like more of like a warrior face and less like, oh, she's a pretty night elf with like a nicely curved proportioned face.
I cannot wait to like have a night elf where I can choose my skin color and then like choose a lip color. Oh my god.
Separately?
Yeah. Separately.
Why, you want the moon on a stick, you
like, do. Oh my, I know. But when I heard that, I was like, no way.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because
wait, so is that going to be an option to change like mouth only? Like,
I hope so.
Because it seems a little bit.
Suggested, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I always use the one that has like the pale skin and the dark lips are only on
Right?
2 of the models, I think. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I'm like, I only have 2 faces to choose between on any of my characters.
Exactly.
Because this kind of ties us into this example picture of something on PTR where
Oh yeah, let's
the
just go
eyes
around.
look to be separated from the face itself, kind of hinting that we're going to be able to change the eyes separately. Let me get the picture out, which is interesting because then the mouth might also be a separate option, making it highly customizable to whatever face that you'd want to have.
As we're pulling this up, I think this could be a good shit show segment because you're seeing pictures
What do
of
you
the
mean?
eyes.
A good shit show segment.
The eyes in progress, and Blizzard has said that they are in progress to prepare for Shadowlands. Everyone is very upset the eyes look in progress, as opposed to being finished.
I mean, but they've come out and said that this is just like step 1 in right?
Yeah. They're like, see future tweaks, and people are like, I don't like this.
When it comes to the Death Knight ones, I really like them just as they are. Like they don't look so good on the character screen like that, but in game, the Death Knight eyes look awesome. They look so scary without the glow.
Well, they kind of like float in front of your eyeballs.
Oh, currently so, yeah.
Yeah,
but the ones on the PTR right now, like the kind of like the just plain kind of matte ones. Oh, they're so good. It's like dead DED versus LED. The old eyes are LED, the new ones are DED.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very nice one, Tally.
Wow.
DED eyes. That's the new thing that we're going for now.
Yeah.
No, honestly, I can understand maybe some people being upset, like, oh no, my eyes aren't as glowy as it used to be. But apart from that, I think the changes in general look good. Like, I'm actually not sure why there's some negative feedback on this. I feel like the eyes look more, I don't know, like slightly more realistic. Well, maybe not realistic, but slightly more shadowed, like in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the glow could be coming back. This is just step 1.
Oh, I think it'll definitely come back.
Setting up the tech so you can actually have your eyes be different colors. And while we're at it, Muffinus was tweeting that Night Elf can have different raised levels of eyebrows, which I'm totally a fan of. I can change your yep.
Sorry, all
maybe I can have like one raised eyebrow.
Getting me emotional.
I never know if Muffinus, like when he tweets, if he's like telling the truth or if that's the beginning breadcrumb for a new mystery quest.
Oh, you never know.
For like a new secret.
He had this really weird digression this morning where he's like, I like spells that are named Widget because that's the name of my cat. I'm uploading pictures of my cat to this Wowhead page now. And I'm like, oh, I guess one picture of a cat on Wowhead. So,
but I mean, like, the question about Night Elf eyebrows is like, what are they? Like, are they actually just like cat whiskers?
Yes.
Really?
The answer is yes.
But
they're only attached in the middle. They're not attached along here. They're only attached here.
Right.
And then they like go out like cat whiskers.
But like they have shape and okay.
They were major, like they must be very sensitive, which is why they don't cut them.
Right.
Like, so and because they're not very good for battle otherwise. And like, if you'd make a major feature of them as well.
Yeah, gosh, of course.
Sometimes you curl your hair.
It could help them like see in the dark because they use this as sensors, like cat
right.
sensors.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, I've always just wondered. What was going
you should have asked at the Q&A.
Maybe that's why Sylvanas didn't put on the Helm of Domination.
Oh yeah,
she was about to, and then she was like, "Oh, my eyebrows aren't going to fit in here.
True.
I'll rip it in half insteed."
Yeah,
maybe trying to stretch it out.
Like,
that was the deciding factor.
She's just like, I just need to widen this a little bit. Wouldn't that be tragic if that was her plan? She was literally just trying to widen it out.
Make some eyebrow holes.
Yeah.
No, I've done that. I've done that with stuff. I've been like, I'll just stretch this jumper a bit.
Oh, that's brilliant.
But yeah, what other customization options, since we're talking about it, would you guys want to see? I mean, of course, there's always the will there be high elf customization? And
everyone wants
to get that.
High elves, don't they?
Yeah.
For blood elves, obviously.
Well, maybe void elves, because they're hanging out with the void elves in the starting zone.
Yes, very much so. Well, I'm like, there's like the customization I want is like really obvious. I want antlers for male night elves. And female ones, why not? Who cares?
Thanks.
And I want
thank you.
like all manner of amazing beards for male and female, why not humans? And anyone. Like I just want proper beard options, like really good beard options.
Mm-hmm.
And
with physics.
the exciting thing for me
Yes.
is thinking of races that I can't think of any customizations for, like gnomes. I can't think what extra kind of things you give gnomes.
I feel like because they're with the mechagnomes now,
Yeah.
and they're like united. Like maybe some of the gnomes would have a few more gadgets on them. Like, oh, we're not totally a mechagnome, but we're embracing their fashion, or we upgraded a little bit of
Yeah,
ourselves.
maybe like
not all of
jewelry or
ourselves.
something as well.
Jewelry, yeah. I always think like jewelry is always the least interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, true.
Always the least
Like,
interesting customization.
Well, it can go with if you have like interesting hair gadgets. I think that's pretty cool. Like the mechagnomes have the little
cool.
wrenches and stuff, like the little wheel they're wearing with their bun. So
Yeah.
I would love to be able to
orc
choose.
customization, like I don't know what that would be because we've got the Magar and we've got like all the different skin tones with that and what have you. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess like scars and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
Scars
guess
could be
like
cool. Yeah.
Markings and like
Yeah.
paint for the trolls looks super cool.
Yeah.
Scars
So
on the
those-
faces, everyone doesn't look the same, especially when people pick the same face. Although with the new like eye
Well,
customization
Kultiran
and mouth,
has
maybe
that.
they'll start looking a bit more different. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Can we get like cool Tyrion, like nautical tattoos?
They have said that the allied races won't be getting new.
And when are we getting the skinny models? Or are we?
Oh,
even?
yeah.
Yeah, I
Nice.
mean, I've now it's taken so long for those skinny models to come that they don't match me anymore. I've put on too much weight. Those were released at the beginning of BFA before I got the chair.
You are
And
now a normal human.
I would have played that model and it
Borderline
reminded me of
Kultiran.
me. Now I'm just a normal Kultiran.
you know, they never actually made skinny female models. So
No.
who knows? Maybe if they did it back in the day, it would have been an easier port over. But
Yeah, sure.
they only had skinny guys.
Yeah, that's true.
What else would I want to see?
Yeah, I was gonna say hair color to choose specific shade that you want.
Yeah, I could see
Yeah.
more customizations with colors. Especially, I
obvious,
want to see more curly hair with humans. I mean, they already showed
Yes.
that, but humans always have the one sort of reverse bob that's sort of spiky curly hair because that's the closest thing, and I like having it look like me. But
Mhm.
yeah, highlights could be cool as well. Like
Ooh,
the
yeah.
Panther
Yeah.
highlights.
Yeah.
You could have like dyed hair options, or
Mhm.
I don't know, more normal looking highlights, different two-toned hair. So
Mhm.
that'd be
Ooh.
I don't really see any reason to like keep haircuts kind of sex specific either, to be honest. Why not like you just double the amount of haircuts that each
Just swap them
each
around.
person
for
can have?
everyone.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
make them
That's a
universal.
good point, actually.
Yeah.
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 Like, why not?
I want to see golden eyes for night elves. Especially with
Oh.
like Highborn coming back in.
Yeah,
or
that'd be
they
really
made
cool.
such a big
Yeah.
deal about Illidan's eyes, so I think that would be cool to see for night
Mm.
elves.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and there's always tattoos and stuff, isn't there? Like, you
Yeah.
can always have fun with that.
Always.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was a Wowhead April Fool's joke one year. Not the light bound tattoos, but the year before we had all sorts of like I love Pepe tattoos or like buff ret on someone's forehead. We added that to the dressing room.
Mhm.
Here's a question for you,
Yeah.
because we were talking about Dark Rangers earlier.
Yeah.
Say they did make Dark Ranger, like the option to create a Dark Ranger. That's one of the new customization options. Would that be an option for one of the elf races, or would it be an option for Forsaken?
Huh. So, because I mean, the obvious thing is like, oh, well, the night elf. Well, yeah, it's because you have the blood elves, then you have the
Mhm.
Forsaken, and then you have Dalaran, who shows up when you talk to
Yeah.
Kalia in
Mhm.
8.3.
Because I like the obvious one is to make it elves, but it's got to be Forsaken for sure.
It has to be, I think.
Who are already getting.
Yeah.
And that's the other
And
thing.
they're-
Because Forsaken
yeah.
are already getting the hide the bones. When do we get the only bones? Hiding bones is cool,
Only
I'm
bones.
down with it, but when do we get like
Skeletons.
only bones?
Oh
Like
my
No
when
more
we, like,
skin.
full skeleton. With all the bones and Dark Rangers, Forsaken is going to be the race to play next expansion. 100%.
Hmm.
It's be amazing.
So what happens if you wear gear? Does it cover the bones?
Well, yeah. In the same way it covers like any god.
Well, with
Yeah.
the mechagnomes, they've got the gears, but you don't see the armor on the gear part, I believe, unless it's a rope that covers your legs. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
would the Forsaken just be running around naked with I don't know, like a chest on?
Oh, the brilliant thing about an all bone model, like an animated skeleton, is how funny they look in clothes. Like that's one of the most satisfying things about like a skeleton model is you put clothes on them and you're like, it's a skeleton wearing clothes. It's brilliant. Come on, it's awesome. Are you telling me you wouldn't love that?
Yeah.
I have a lot of work going into making just a skeleton model.
What? You could say that about anything. You can hide like all the gear in transmog.
Okay.
Like that's like saying, oh, there's no point giving people like body tattoos because gear goes like, of course not.
Fine.
Like, of course you can have skeletons. All bone forsaken.
If you don't wear anything, you're completely naked as a skeleton body, and then you lay down, you'll look like corpse.
No, we give them like underwear. We're not monsters. We're not like.
Do they need underwear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why would bones just need underwear?
Flashing
Exactly.
their pelvic bone at you? That's disgusting.
I mean, we look like naked skeletons when we die, right? Like in game, I mean,
Yeah.
like it's just like a corpse of skeleton. So maybe they'll look like that all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, they touched on that in the Battle for Lordaeron. When Sylvanas raises all the dead soldiers that have just been killed by the plague, and they are literally skeleton warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Skeleton warriors.
Yeah,
That's what I want.
okay.
Skeleton
Give
warrior.
that as an option. It'd be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. If you're given the option to hide them, why not an option to show them all? Like the more alternatives, the
I'm not
better.
even joking. I would play it so much, so bad. I'd totally play it. I'm not joking in the slightest. I think it'd be brilliant. I'm genuinely brilliant.
Honestly, I think a lot of people would. I mean, even the Noggenfogger elixir has been so popular.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
people love it.
It could, just be like, oh, your body option is a Noggenfogger.
Yeah.
Elixir.
Yeah, I
like
think it could work.
I'd play it.
Yeah.
Evitel is convinced too now.
Yeah, it's just, I thought you were an idiot at first, Taliesin, but I'm sold. Come in.
But now I need it for all the races.
Oh my god, it's gonna be
though.
so good being Forsaken.
Oh, now we
With their
need bone
cool,
option for
like,
all
emo
races.
Haircuts.
Yeah,
and
it's
they're,
like-
and they're
races.
hiding the
I know.
bones, or only bones, and the Dark Rangers that we just come up with. Can't wait.
Yeah.
All my characters.
I
And they have
need
best
to.
animations.
I need to deal with Braypo quickly, so I'm gonna step away for a second, and you guys can talk about the B mount ground or bones as usual. But yeah, I will be right back.
All right.
Come on,
Yeah,
Braypo.
let's do that.
Lots of before we do, lots of people in the chat saying that our skeleton models wouldn't be allowed in China or whatever. But I mean,
They just
if-
changed to their version,
Blizzard,
right?
If Blizzard really cared about that, I don't think they'd have made Shadowlands the next expansion. Like if they were like, oh, we have to make sure that we get everything right for China. I know, let's do a literal undead expansion.
everybody's-
Come on, guys.
No, yeah, and also like if there are things that are inappropriate in China, what they do is they change their version of the game. That's how it's always been. Like a lot of skulls in the game are just non-existent if you play the Chinese version of it. So
For sure.
Blizzard doesn't have to
Like-
change to make us play like whatever version they have to play.
But
So.
like, I mean, yeah, exactly, and everyone's mentioning Maldraxxus right now in the chat. That's absolutely right. Like, you're seriously telling me that if China was even a thought in their heads when they were designing these things, that Maldraxxus would exist? Like, obviously not. But anyway, yes.
Yes,
Sorry.
the B mount. Maybe not as many bones, but we have a mount which reminds us of the B mount. So we call it the B mount 2.0.
back.
It seems like, hello, welcome back.
Is it?
It's not really a
That's
B,
not-
no.
if
But the
someone might-
idea...
No, it's the bee skeleton.
You turned around to me and you went, Taliesin, there's a bee in the living room. Will you go and get rid of it? And I went to go and and I'd be like, yeah, of course I will, my woman. You stay there. You protect our child, and I will go and I will deal with the bee
Vanquish
for
the
you.
bee.
And that mofo was in the living room. I'd be like, we're moving house.
It's a really similar skeleton though. It has the same animations.
Of course, yeah.
Yes, here it
And,
is. I can show it to you guys so you guys know what we're talking about. And it seems like the way to obtain it is also pretty similar to how we obtain the B mount.
That's why I called it the B mount.
Yeah, so that's why it's B mount V2.
Yeah, it's a new Akira friendship faction, and you get to name this mount. That's why it's so cool.
Oh, wait, really? You get to name the
going
mount?
back to- going to
And the names are
broadcast
very
text.
appropriate as well.
Yes. It's congratulations, you've hatched a healthy Akira larva. What shall we call him? Bitey McStab Face,
Ah.
Reginald, and Spike.
Bitey McStabface every time. I'm like,
Oh,
did you even
it's
need the
Bitey
option?
McStab face.
Always.
Reginald?
Yeah.
You've got the choice of Bitey McStabface and you say Reginald.
Yeah, Reggie.
What if I'm
Oh
married?
my.
I feel like we should have had this conversation before we got married.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
I think.
Or
Okay,
in a
look,
few
okay,
months
well,
with the
you
new
can call
baby.
your- You can call your bee Reginald and we'll call the baby Bitey McStabface. How's
Okay,
that?
fine.
Called a baby that. Oh no. Oh.
Oh yeah,
It is a pretty cool model though.
So do you think it'll be horde only? To be fair.
No.
Okay.
Well, the
no.
horde already has the 2 mounts. You've
guess
got
so.
the,
But
the
they're rubbish,
dinosaur.
aren't
But they're
Yeah.
usable
And
on
you-
Alliance though, right? Whereas the B mount is not usable on Horde.
Yeah, but that's still 2 mounts, and the Alliance has like so many horses, and the Horde has more variety
the Alliance
of
also
stuff.
has the hippo,
the
and the
hippo
bee,
and the bee.
which are
Well,
objectively
you
the
can't
two
really
best
get
mounts in the game.
the hippo. I mean, it's more effort for the hippo versus the
Oh,
Horde.
I mean, yeah, you have to.
Have to be
Yeah,
a real
have to be
PvPer.
really awesome. to
Yeah.
get the hippo, like, only the very handsomest and best people have the hippo. That's a
True.
genuine fact.
Actually true.
So I don't know if this is a bad. Well, yeah, to learn more, but the model, if you zoom in on it, we're not being very nice to the Akir. It's actually very, I don't know, it's like Akir abuse, or I don't know, maybe they like it
Whoa.
because the chains are like nailed into it, and the Akir have 6 eyes, and we have chains going into 4 of its eyes, and I don't think it's a hard shell because there's like blood surrounding the chains.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're right. I hadn't seen that.
oh,
Yeah.
that's pretty dark.
Poor
Yeah.
Bison face.
Did you have to
Yeah.
tell us this?
I feel really bad. Like, do we find the Akira already with the stuff in it, and then we try to take care of it and treat it nicely, or do we do this ourselves? Because it got suddenly really dark looking at this model.
Yeah. I didn't notice the
So-
chains before.
Yeah, so I'm a little concerned.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, I don't like it. I do like it. It's awesome.
It does look cool.
I mean, it's cool.
I feel kind of evil. Like now that it's zoomed in, actually, this mount looks cool.
Yeah, I'm down with it.
For the little tentacles.
Yeah, it's tentacle face. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, not as bad as that Antorus mount, which was all the Draenei heads.
Oh god.
Oh
Yeah.
god.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really dark.
And the flavor text is really happy. It's void, jelly, and a very full belly is all this drone needs. So maybe it's happy. I mean, we apparently feed it.
He
So
loved it. Some like I guess
Okay.
is it the chains are just bored into his like shell? It doesn't hurt. He loves it.
yeah, but then how come is his shell just oozing stuff? I mean, it seems weird that we
Yeah,
just
but I
poured it into
mean-
his eyes.
You know.
It's a good point. I mean, well, I don't know. The ones in the head look like it's bleeding.
Those look worse.
Doesn't it look like it's bleeding, kind of? Like, what are those red effects around where the chain has been pierced in?
Yeah. It's pretty
Yeah.
intense.
That's like his carapace, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hmm.
But who cares?
We'll figure
Well,
it
it
out. I'm sure the
explains
quest
why
will reveal
he's-
everything.
He is an aberration after all.
He is.
It explains why he's
True.
biting McStab face if he's had such a bad day
Yeah,
and had this
yeah.
thing nailed into him.
And I guess it will fly exactly like the bee and stuff. It'll have the same animation. And
Yeah,
stuff. And that's
probably.
really satisfying. It's so round and glorious.
It's that little like
Yeah, I love that.
Mhm.
so cute.
Have you seen the
Yeah.
mount special of the bee when it like shakes its butt a little bit?
Oh,
It's so cute.
So good. So
Let me
good.
pull this up on the model viewer to see what it what the angry bee does.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
It looks so. Oh, you know, it does the same thing. It does a little shake.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's cute.
okay, I love it now.
Oh.
But yeah, I think we covered most or all of the interesting 8.3 PTR stuff. We can go into Shadowlands, unless you guys have something from the 8.3 PTR that's like
You're forgetting the
so
thing that I'm
important.
pretty sure has been like the most traffic going through Wowhead in the last couple of days, which are the new socket items.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the item that is a socket that makes everything a socketed item if you grind out enough Wrathions.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So an
So
item that
Speaking of more gouged eyes, the gouged item is off. Is
Yeah.
it just sticks a socket on your item for 25,000
Mm-hmm.
Wrathion currency.
Can I have this right now? So I rolled very luckily a item level 444 item with haste mastery, which is exactly what I want, and then no socket. So I'm never allowed to be completely happy because it has to be the right item level, it has to be the right stats, it has to be a socket as well, because this way something that's 10 item levels lower might be better just because it's, got the correct socket. And if I get this item, then I can put it in my other item. You know, a little bit less RNG, but still some RNG. Perfect. That's what we need. I hope that's how this will work. I don't know if there's going to be any kind of limitations with it, or maybe it even gives corruption. I don't know.
Yeah, like, can you put it on any item?
Exactly.
Yeah, any item that's not already.
Because it sounds like it says on equipment that does not already have a socket, so it doesn't mention any other limitation. But I don't know.
Because obviously you put it on your Heart of Azeroth straight up, right? Because that's the thing you're not going to take off. And it's on. When I first saw this pop up on Wowhead a couple of days ago, before the source for it came up a couple of hours later, I was really hoping that this was going to be a drop from N'Zoth. Like, because
kind of like you could upgrade the Antorus trinkets, that type of thing. Like
exactly.
you do it more, it gets better.
You could like, this would be your reason to farm N'Zoth. And like, once you completed the raid, this would be the thing that would keep you coming back.
Oh, that's amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
Keep coming back to farm sockets.
Eventually, after like, well, how many pieces of gear have you got? Like 14? Like after 14 weeks of farming, you would have like this, because you'd have a socket in your gear. Right. Which would be amazing, and that would be super good. And I'd love to see them do that. But you buy it from Wrathion instead, which is fun. Still really cool. Yeah. But I want a reason to go back.
Wait, what's the currency to buy it though?
It's what you get for doing the horrific vision. So as you do different objectives or fail at them or do things faster, you get more and more currency.
Well, so the currency is to buy the socket is the same currency that you use to buy entrance to the horrific visions.
No, it's like they're. One is the coalescing visions, and one is the corrupted momentum.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, they're on the same vendor. They just have different.
Right.
Okay. One is blue and one is gold. Is the currency.
So you get the currency from horrific visions to buy socket thing.
And do we have an idea like how long you'll need to grind, say, to get one of these socket pieces? It's going to be a while, isn't it?
It's got to be.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Right. So you probably want to keep it for those lucky items.
Yeah.
Right, and you want to keep doing the horrific vision to strengthen yourself so you do better against N'Zoth, which, as a side note, something that did not get as good of a reception was the infinite trait, the infinite 85 level Azerite trait. So
wait,
I like how Blizzard.
Can you tell us about it? What was that?
Yeah.
So
about it.
Yeah.
At BlizzCon.
Where did it go? Oh yeah, so there's a 4th Heart of Azeroth slot at 75, and then there is Brightpaw, you're like super into this infinite fate. He was getting really scratchy and wanted to be let out, so I let him out before. You can see him zooming around. So I linked it in the notes, but basically you get a 4th essence at 75, and then an infinite trait unlocks at 85, and it's called the Purity of the World Soul, and increases your corruption resistance by 1. So that's like Concordance 2.0.
Okay.
Okay, but
it's infinite.
It's exactly
insanity resistance as well, though, even if it's just a teeny tiny one.
Yeah.
Wait, what's that? What did you say?
It does give you resistance to insanity as well.
Yeah. So that is the updates, and I feel like Blizzard had this thing that was very popular and this thing that was not so popular at the same time, and they've sort of been canceling each other out in the.
I mean, like, who honestly is going to get to 85 before they've completed the raid? You know, and like, expansion is essentially over once you've completed that raid. So in Legion, the infinite trait happened in like 7.2, didn't it?
Yeah,
like,
it was.
So
when they added the Mage Tower.
Yeah, because you wanted to get it as high as possible, ready for 7.3, and going to Antorus and stuff like that. That kind of
that's a good point.
Motivation isn't there now because we're already on the final raid.
Yeah, but it's you mentioned the word infinite and people are like,
I know.
Infinite.
Anxiety.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. But I also wanted to touch. Go ahead. Sorry, because
my objective before Shadowlands launches or before the pre-patch launches will be to get to 85, which I've got a feeling is gonna be hard enough, frankly. And just so it's all filled out and it all just looks nice and full. Yeah, that's what you've got to do.
Yeah.
I actually just recently got my last trait. Like I've been kind of slow with that on retail at the moment, especially because of Classic. But I recently got my last trait, and it feels good. I don't want infinite traits. It's down.
Oh, it's like Teldrassil all over again.
Oh no.
Oh. How's your pet doing?
Sleeping.
Yeah.
Sleeping. Oh.
He's
Such a
much
good
better
pet.
behaved now.
Wow.
Wow.
What is
Was
he
this
doing
like-
now?
Just destroying everything.
Yes.
It's so
I think
funny.
he's trying to. Oh no. He's trying to
Okay.
eat a doll's leg. Anyway.
Oh.
Oh
Um,
no.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So back to the items.
The predator strike.
Yeah, he ran off with the Alice in Wonderland's Tea Party hat.
Oh.
Um,
Look, do you think we'll be able to put the socket item on heirlooms?
that would be interesting.
I don't think so. I feel like usually when we get these kind of
But
items,
it's cool if you could.
it would be cool.
Yeah.
Yes, it would be cool. But
Maybe
Doubt
there'll
it.
be an item level restriction. to
yeah,
it.
yeah. I was gonna say. I
Well,
think
what
it's
they did
probably
with, like,
the
Wrathion,
sockets
Crown
as
of
well.
Heaven. Yeah, you could only put it on an item that was above a certain level.
I guess so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Like belt
yeah,
sockets in
another
general from blacksmithers were always a certain item level as well, right?
It makes
yeah,
sense.
so it couldn't make stuff be overpowered.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was to say about gear as well. We also got a bunch of new corrupted items, like these weapons from the raid. They keep adding more procs to them, and they come with base corruption. My question is, I wonder if this is going to be. Well, they said it was a test run for stuff in the future, but I wonder if in Shadowlands each season is going to have an interesting effect or items with procs and positive, negative things, because we've seen that with the Mythic Plus abilities, how they're themed around each season, and the armor's themed around it. So I have to wonder if they'll do less with Titan Forging, but have weird, like, death themes each patch.
So the word on the street is that corrupted gear as a replacement for Titan Forging is very much a test for how they will approach gearing in Shadowlands.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if it works out and if people like it, it's a system that we will see a version of in Shadowlands.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work and everyone hates it, then it's back to the drawing board, I guess, and they'll try.
Exactly.
And
Yeah, I think that's definitely what it is as well, because they clearly want some kind of system of Titan Forging, some kind of feel good RNG feeling, which I don't want, but we have enough RNG. But yeah, they clearly want that, because I'm guessing in the statistics that there is some kind of proof that it does make people play more. Maybe people wouldn't run more Mythic Plus without it. Maybe people wouldn't run more raids without it. So they know that it is somewhat keeping players playing. I think it could be done a lot more interestingly. When you mentioned the items, the socket item coming from raids, I actually got
You were so
excited for a
happy on
moment.
Twitter.
I thought, like, that's actually how it's gonna be, because I think
be
that would
amazing.
make perfect sense. The idea of RNG on top of RNG, like you might get a socket on this Titan forged item, is a little bit too much, but it's okay if you can also work towards it in a different way.
totally. I think that's. I mean, I assume that means that like items can't proc a socket on them.
But even
like,
if it could, I wouldn't be against it.
Right.
Right now, I don't want sockets randomly appearing.
Yeah,
but
sure.
but if this socket item exists like alongside it, then I don't mind. If there are random sockets on pieces on like anyone doing any level content, I don't mind. But it's the fact that you get that really one good item and it doesn't have a socket, and now that item sucks, and that's not a very nice feeling.
Totally. And like yeah, and obviously stuff isn't going to proc to higher item levels in 8.3.
No, true.
It's just going to corrupt. And
yeah.
I know everyone says it's like more layers of RNG, but the importance of the RNG is much less in corrupted gear.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some gear that will just have static amounts, like these weapons they keep adding. They all have baseline 25 corruption, and they have a really cool equip on them. And these are only from the raids. So if you want the item with like the really overpowered effect, you need to do the rating for them, and the boss, has a chance to drop it. It's not like, oh, well, here's an item and it can roll the really cool effect. It's like, oh, you want to target a specific weapon with a proc from that boss, which kind of feels like more of a classic vibe, actually, like wanting to down a boss for a really unique weapon. So
yeah,
like you're
wanting
saying,
to
Annie,
raid
like,
is nice. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like you're like,
I
maybe
think-
we saw stats that like Titan Forging was good for analytics, but I'm sure they're also seeing metrics now that the VIS system is also good for metrics.
I think that everyone was very down automatically on corrupted gear, and I can see why, because it hit a lot of buzzwords that people are against. But I think once it's actually in the game and it's playing, I'm not saying it's going to be great and everyone's going to love it, but I think people realize that it's actually a lot less random than Titan Forging, because you're always hoping for a Titan Forging proc. It's always objectively better than not getting a Titan Forging proc. Like the RNG that you're hoping for is so much more important than RNG that you're hoping for in corrupted gear. And I think people will see that when it's happening, I think. And you know, and having like a socket that you can save up for to add to your gear as well. I think is a good
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I also feel that when we first got corruption, we've got a cat stealing the show again. When we first got corruption, it was a very late night PTR build, and there wasn't really a blue post on it, and we kept discovering more and more RNG aspects of it as the night went on, and people got more and more worked up. And if there was like a blue post with some examples before the build, I feel that that would have tempered expectations a bit more, because the later builds have added, you know, like the static corruption items or really unique effects that aren't just like, oh, look, critical strike. And I think
the static corruption was always going to happen. That's the thing. Like as soon as it came out, and like there were ranges of how much corruption it could happen with different.
Then they
like,
changed
it, right? That back.
Yeah. I'm really glad that got changed.
Like the one thing you could put money on happening. So like it was never even part of the conversation for me.
Because I know a lot of people worried about that, like rolling the best proc, but wanting to have the lowest corruption, and making that static instead does feel better. That it's not too much RNG on top of RNG. So
yeah,
that's
I like
good.
how it started off as like the worst possible iteration with all this RNG, and then like every week it's like, oh, it's better. Like, you know, there's less ranges, or, you know, look at this cool item with static things, and then they added the cleansing system this week as well, so people could you know, people weren't sure if you could cleanse it before. It was data mined but not visible, and this week they added that as well to the
and it's literally just a click of a button, isn't it, essentially? Is there a gold cost to it?
Let's see what Squishy wrote. If Brightpaw, no tail, there we go. Yeah, you just place a corrupted item in front of Mother, and it removes the positive effect as well as the corruption. And it costs only 5 mementos, which is very cheap, as we just went over. The socket was 25,000 of those. So 5 is
big difference.
Yeah.
I think that, and that's a really important part of the system as well, which wasn't taken very into account with all the initial criticism either. And like I'm not going to say I'm a fan or that I dislike it, but it certainly seems more fun than Titan Forging.
Yeah.
And that's an important part of it for me.
Yeah. I agree.
People that have been raid testing and mythic raid testing, like Preach and people like that, say you really don't want more than 2 of the bad levels of corruption. Like any more than 2, like you start getting to the 3rd debuff, and it gets unmanageable. So that brings in like quite an interesting mini game of deciding which corrupted gear to cleanse and which to not, and things like that. Which
it sort of reminds me of the Legion Legendary system, where you could only have like 2 things equipped at the same time. So you had to be like, well, I can collect all of these, but which 2 bonuses do I really want the most?
Exactly.
Because,
maybe even carry them around in bag, in case you want to sometimes swap things over for different situations.
Yeah. Right, Paul, why is your chill on the way? Yeah, I wanted to just read or just go over some of the effects I keep talking about, because I keep mentioning them, but I'm not exactly saying what they are for people watching, but I'm going to butcher these names. It'll be fun. So we've got Quarnileth, which is your damaging abilities build the Echoing Void. Each time it builds, Echoing Void has a chance to collapse, dealing 1% of your health as shadow damage to all nearby enemies. Or you have Shigalos Astral Malignity. Your spells and abilities.
Yeah, she's definitely wearing it. You must understand her better, Tally.
A nearby enemy with an infinite star, dealing arcane damage and increasing their damage taken from your infinite stars by 25%, stacking up to 10 times. So when I'm talking about the cool bonuses from the raid that you want to carry around, it's stuff like that, not like, ooh, my versatility was increased.
Yeah.
And they all have really fun names. I don't know, does anyone else want to take a crack if you've got Bors, Yokal, SK Shul Vaz.
SK.
I didn't know you spoke Welsh peculiar. I even did Bacchus welcome there.
Oh, that's the two-handed Death Knight weapon.
Are those the effects from the weapons specifically, or can they,
Yeah. So these are the ones that have the high amount of corruption that you can only get from certain bosses in the raid. So you probably would want to carry these around in your bag and swap them based on stuff.
Yeah.
See, that sounds fun to me personally.
Yeah. I think, like Talia said, like having this the system is interesting because, one, it's fun to try something new and different rather than just, static increase of item level. It seems more interesting. And I think, secondly, I think it's very good because then we know that Blizzard is listening and realizing that Titan Forging isn't working. So then they're doing what Tali mentioned, as in, like, experimenting this new system, and if it goes very well, we can definitely see something similar in future expansions. And if it doesn't go very well, then you can take whatever knowledge you got from that and build something else for the next expansion. So testing things is always good, and hopefully it'll be fun as well once it's actually
and
live.
even though I can't pronounce the weapons, at least like they're actually memorable. And that was another thing going back to Classic, like you knew the items you wanted to farm, while in BFA everything is sort of indistinguishable and mashed together unless it has a unique transmog appearance.
Like I'm interested to see what items.
If you had a BIS item that you wanted, but it was from a Mythic Plus dungeon, you're farming it every patch.
Right.
That's one of the major problems is that I really love this trinket, and it comes with Mythic Plus, so I'm farming it at as higher an item level as I can get it in 8.1. I'm doing it again in 8.2.
Yes.
I'm doing
same dungeon, same item. Yep.
And that is so lame. That's the worst.
It's really wrong. It feels really wrong. There should be a realistic way of farming things, not that insane RNG to go back to old content. And I want to be excited for new gear. Like a new raid comes out, and I haven't been that interested in reading the trinkets because it's like it probably doesn't matter. Probably something procs in Mythic Plus, which is better, so I'm not gonna check. And back in the day, trinkets were always the most interesting thing, because you want to see what the effect is and which ones are the good ones. And hopefully now with this corrupted gear, because the corrupted gear will only be from the raid, that suddenly makes the raid more interesting. Because then I'm like, what effects can I get? Like, which ones are the good ones? Which ones are, the less good ones? And what can be mixed and matched? It sounds interesting and makes raiding appealing, which it hasn't been for a while for me.
I think
corrupted gear only from raids?
I believe so.
No, they're from other sources too. 8.3 sources. I think it's still in flux, but one of the PTR builds, I think the previous one had the crafted gear came with some baseline corruption as well.
Okay. Because somebody said it's not in PvP or Mythic Plus. Is that true?
Right. I think it's just the 8.3 sources that have the corruption on it. So not like World Quest.
Because it's literally just a straight up replacement for Titan Forging. So anything that could Warforge or Titan Forge in 8.3 would get corruption instead. Yes. It's my understanding of it.
Yes, but in PvP and Mythic Plus, it's still Titan Forges, correct?
Don't think so.
PvP doesn't have that system. It's based on your rating, so that would seem to be separate from that. Mythic Plus is... I feel like Mythic Plus are still sorting stuff out with it. They finally added rewards to Mythic Plus, this PTR, like mounts if you do a lot of Mythic Plus well. But
I did see that. That was really good news for Mythic Plus people out there. First time ever, the feat of strength for completing a plus 15 in time in all dungeons will now reward you with a unique mount, which I'm assuming after the season is over will be unobtainable. So that's really cool.
Yeah,
nice.
I think that's awesome. And they like that's the way forward for sure. And you get a title as well, right?
Maybe a title too. Yeah, I don't remember.
You get a title for doing them all at plus 10, and you get the mount for doing them all at plus 15.
Okay.
And they need going forward and into Shadowlands. I want like armor sets and stuff like that for that.
Yeah. Do you think people would argue stuff like, I need to do the raid to get my cool weapons so I can then do better at Mythic Plus? Like the whole you have to do thing. So
that's cool.
I think. Yeah, I
might be biased, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with needing to do different content. I mean, maybe it's annoying in like a competitive scene of it. Like people who like play PvP competitively might be annoyed that they have to raid. That can be understandable, you know, because it might affect balance. But apart from that, just enjoying the game itself, I think it's okay to mix like Mythic Plus and raiding and things like that.
Yeah, I like things that encourage me into other content and to do it properly, you know. Like the hippo.
Yeah.
I literally never done
the hippo.
arenas
Always
before.
back to the hippo.
The hippo made me spend an entire season doing arenas with my buddies, and I loved it. And it's most of what I did. And in season 1, and I genuinely think it's one of the reasons why I wasn't having a horrible time with BFA like lots of other people were. Like, no, seriously, when everyone started going, about 8 weeks in, when everyone was kind of going, I don't know about BFA, you know, I was like, this is amazing. What are you talking about? I'm having the best time.
I've been a huge slacker with Mythic Plus, but I feel like a title and a mount would actually make me want to do it.
Yeah.
That's like
yeah.
for me.
Yeah,
So
like
cool.
people have told me like, hey, why don't you go for the plus 15 in every dungeon? I'm like, there's no reward. But there's a feat of strength. Well, like I don't care.
Cool gear, so
like the feat of strength doesn't give me achievement points, and it doesn't give me any other kind of reward. So like I don't really care about one extra feat of strength, you know, among the other like hundreds or however many that we have, those of us who've been playing for a really long time. So it's not that interesting. But when there's a mount or something that then afterwards becomes unobtainable, that's great. It's amazing. It's like challenge modes.
The mount model this time is the model used for the hard to get stuff, so it's not like a boring recolor. It's the recolor of Mythic N'Zoth mount, which is, you know, not everyone's going to have that. So it's a cool silhouette. It's kind of a
it's pretty unique right
mount.
now. It's not very pretty though, but yeah, it's pretty unique.
Yeah. So, do we want to show the N'Zoth mounts quickly?
Yeah, I was actually gonna get
that
up here. Mythic N'Zoth. Wait, do you mean the one that looks like a squid?
Yeah. Well, there's the happy octopus, and then there's the squiggly one.
Isn't it happy?
Yeah.
Here, okay.
It's very purple and neon. Yeah.
Because the Mythic Plus one is more like a sort of a worm kind of model, right?
Yeah. Well, the
like the glory mount. Yes, here.
Yeah, the glory one.
Gotcha. Yeah, so we have the one that you guys can see now is the reward for Mythic N'Zoth, and then we have this one, which will be the glory mount for the tier, and this is the one which is the same model as the Mythic Plus reward, but a different color.
Yeah,
and they're both purple.
I love the Mythic N'Zoth mount. It's so happy. It has so many eyes, and it's I don't know, like
I'm
the
not
tints
sure how
feel
this
very
is
warm
happy.
and festive. It just, I don't know, the colors look very vibrant. It's not like the V that's the Akir, which is covered in blood. It looks...
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good
it's
point.
festive.
All of the eyes are going to be looking in different directions.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so awesome. I love how like crudely the harness is kind of strapped over.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
love it.
It does look really cool.
People in the chat saying they're ugly. I'm gonna just bring up the shackled Urzul from Antorus again, which was Draenei faces smushed together with a mouth in the middle. Like,
Worms,
I was
worms
actually
aren't the
able
highest
to,
but this is pretty good.
Yeah. I was actually able to Snapchat filter that mount model. It recognized all the faces, and I put little flower crowns on all of them. It was amazing.
Oh my god.
So.
No, but like all of the mounts in Ny'alotha are suitably old god and tentacly, and it feels like we're not gonna have any old god stuff again for a while. So you know, make the most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going all out. Lots of purple.
All that right
Yeah,
now.
I think this is a great, end of expansion mount, and it's gonna be interesting because Mythic N'Zoth. So this mount will, after the expansion is over, it'll turn into probably one of those 1% drop chance mounts. So this will be a pretty prestigious mount to have. It shows that you have cleared the mythic difficulty of the last raid, and that you were one of the people in the raid that got the mount. Guilds will probably run it multiple times to try and get it to as many people as possible. And towards the end, you may want to, invest into possibly trying to get that mythic kill just to get that mount before it turns into 1% drop chance, because it's might be kind of annoying to start going back, the later expansions and be very unlucky and never get it. And on top of that, the other mount, so the one that looks a bit more like a worm, is the head of the curve mount, which means it'll become completely unobtainable afterwards. So this is
not the worm is the ahead of the curve is the dragon.
Oh my god, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay, not the worm. The worm is based on achievements which you can do at any point of time. You're right, yes. The one that becomes unobtainable is the void. Wait, let's see if I can get it out here somewhere.
Friendship dragon.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't find it right now. But yeah, the dragon that we showed earlier on, sort of void purple color, that's the one that becomes unobtainable later. So that's the one that will probably motivate a lot of people to clear the raid on heroic, because once the expansion is over, that mount becomes unobtainable.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's actually a good transition into more Shadowlands BlizzCon discussion. How much time do you think we're going to have to farm this? If 8.3 is early 2020, do we think the raid is coming right at the start, or is that delayed? And since the demo was so incomplete, do we think Shadowlands is like Q4 2020? We've got a very large amount of time to farm all this.
Yeah, so I think the raid will not be coming with 8.3. The whole kind of horrific visions things, and the whole point of the horrific visions being Wrathion going, "Whoa, you're gonna need this amazing cloak to take on the Zoth. You're gonna need to level this up a little bit before you take on the Zoth. You know, I wouldn't even think about taking on the Zoth without leveling up this cloak. You know, let's do this. Like that seems to be geared towards the raid coming in like 8.3.5 even, which would be pretty standard. Like as far as raids and new patches go. Like 8.2 was kind of unusual in that respect, in that the raid came out within a couple of weeks of the patch hitting. Now that does mean there's going to be a huge gap between 8.2 raid and 8.3 raid. Like there's going to be like a very long gap in between those, which is weird and a bit annoying and a bit rubbish. So yeah, but I don't think the raid will be coming straight away. And then, I mean, I don't think I'm alone in thinking that Shadowlands itself is probably coming a little bit later than we've gotten used to with Legion and BFA.
What do you think? What do you mean by that?
I'm thinking late 2020, like as in late November, December. I don't even want to
December even.
2021 as
So,
I don't want to even think about it.
Well,
it says 5 December 2020, right?
Does it?
Yeah, when you
did
purchase
it?
it.
Yeah, mine printed.
Okay, well in that case, it definitely will.
Yeah.
But you know,
I feel like with Legion, they specifically said this must ship by September, whatever it was, because September is the end of Q3. So when they say December 2020, that makes me think that they're targeting Q4, because if it was earlier, they would have given themselves that earlier end of quarter cutoff. But
yeah, sometimes a perk freezes, but it's usually for just a second.
I feel
so
like
it's fine.
You're all in Europe and I'm US West, so I don't know if
might be might be because of that. I'm not sure if
the server is set the region's set to Europe, so maybe I'm like far away and laggy.
I should set it to US East or something to have like a middle ground. I keep forgetting that
okay.
when I call
there's
it's automatically
you and one of me. So, yeah.
Aw, you're one of us too. Okay, we're all together.
So yeah, I think it'll be late December or mid December before the holidays, I guess. Oh, I don't know. I mean,
Christmas.
Thing is, yeah.
That'd be weird for business because they all have to go on vacation and they really don't. They don't do PTR games.
Late November.
Yeah, it has to be November then, right? Like November 20 something.
WoD was distinctly you have BlizzCon, you celebrate 10 years, and then that Tuesday you play the expansion.
Right.
So they could do like a Shadowlands celebration at BlizzCon, I guess.
Yeah,
could be.
I just feel like in all of the panels at BlizzCon, they were so vague about the specifics of how any of the systems were going to work. And they admit that's because they haven't decided with a lot of them yet. You know, these are very much ideas that they're going to have to fill in, and they don't actually know how they're going to do that yet. And the only thing that I felt they thought that about with BFA was Warfronts. I felt they never quite got a handle on how those were going to work. And it's kind of turned out that way. And so, yeah, I mean, Azerite Armor was broken. But, and it didn't work, but I felt they had that idea in place. They just realized it didn't work. and realized
And
it was
didn't know
too
how
late.
to fix it. Yeah.
Yeah, and they hid so much stuff on the demo, so it's not just, oh, the classes don't have their trees, the equivalent of Azurite. They hid things so you couldn't click on the dungeon journal and, write down the boss names or open up the mount panel and see the new models, but in the past you were able to poke around and see some of the rough bits.
Yeah.
And speculate, based on that.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes me think like Shadowlands is in a very early stage of development right now. And I mean, I think it's going to be as late as it can be, basically.
I also feel that
can we handle that?
Pre-patch,
like a year of 8.3?
Well, if you stagger 8.3 and the raid, and then you maybe have a very large pre-expansion event like Wrath 2.0, they can maybe try to have that be almost like an 8.3 5.5. So that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and I think people underestimate how important the flow of new content is for an MMO. Like, people are like, it's better that it's held off and everything's right and everything's perfect and the content is like super duper finished before it's put out, and that's true. But that isn't the only consideration with an MMO. Like, you can hold up a Zelda game and put it out when it's ready, and that will always be the best thing to do. With an MMO, like, that flow of content is an important part of the content. Like, and the quality of the content has something to do with how quickly it comes. And I think Legion is like a genuine example of that. Like, one of the great things about 7.1 was the content, but another great thing about 7.1 was how quickly it came, like after the release of Legion. And I feel like that's been a big failure of BFA. Like, the patches have come at a much slower rate, and like the patches come at the same rate in BFA that they came at Legion. A lot less criticism of this expansion. Like, 8.1 came after 77 days, same as 7.1. People would have been a lot less critical of it, I think.
Right.
I think it's a genuinely important part of planning an MMO, and the content for an MMO is getting it out quickly. Like, genuinely.
And also the types of content as well. I mean, like, the cinematics are amazing in BFA, but some of the questing leading up to it feels a bit shallow. I'm not talking about the character development, but it's like, oh, you talk to so-and-so and watch the cinematic, while in Legion, we had that really meaty Suramar questline where you were exploring all around the world, and when that was all wrapped up, then you had the Mage Tower to keep you busy as well.
Oh, I love the Mage Tower.
Yeah, in BFA, it's more like, oh, like, we'll see what happens next, or you'll play through the Warfront story, but it felt less in-depth content. Like, it was very interesting story to read about, but didn't translate as well into some of the Legion updates, I felt.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna have longer to wait from the launch of Nyalotha to Shadowlands than we had between Antorus and BFA, and we're not gonna have a Mage Tower to keep us occupied.
Yeah,
I played that Mage Tower so much. Like, I have no idea what I probably wouldn't have played the game and used the Mage Tower.
Mage Tower is amazing.
It's like, oh, Mage Tower, horrific visions, and I'm like, oh, but like, where's my 4 transmog appearances from horrific visions?
The entire expansion, I actually was so positive that they will bring something like Mage Towers back, because they always referred to it and it was mentioned a lot by people. But then, with the introduction of horrific visions, it's like, it's like Mage Tower. And I'm like, oh no.
I know, they keep
because that means they won't do another one.
They've done that with horrific visions. They're doing that with Torghast in Shadowlands as well. I was like, no, it's not.
No, it's not. And if you think this is it, that means we're not getting a real Mage Tower.
The defining feature of Mage Tower it was something you had to try and win. And the defining feature of Torghast is you can't win it. Like,
and horrific visions is like, it's like, you can do it with the group, and it's like, oh, but that's not horrific visions, because
it's like
I soloed it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because, like, one of the things that I felt really proud of...
Sorry, I don't know who's calling me.
Everyone just getting their phones out. One of the things that I found amazing about the Mage Tower, something that I felt proud over, was the fact that I went and played a bunch of specs that I had never touched before. And I leveled my characters that were not max level because I wanted to see that challenge. Obviously, I did it towards the end of the expansion. Most of my ults were overgearing the content, but it was still challenging just because I didn't know how to play them. And now, when you can be in a group and still complete it, then it doesn't feel the same.
Yeah, it's like why change your class or role if you can just bring a healer in and
Yeah. Like why learn my class if I can just have a friend carry me?
Yeah, totally. And it's really funny because if I go to like a class, because I've got all classes at max level, because of Legion, because the alt experience in Legion was so good. Can you imagine? Do you believe we used to call like Legion an alt unfriendly expansion? It was like because I wanted to see all the different stuff, and do all the mage towers and get all the different class mounts and do all the order hall campaigns and all this stuff. But it's really funny if I go to a class that I don't play very much, like Rogue or something like that. If I change to like Subtlety Rogue, which I hardly ever play, there's like all these weird keybinds.
Yep.
And, like macros that I made, which are targeting like enemies in the mage tower, like now, which I never got rid of. And like these all these drums and stuff in the bags and stuff. It's really funny.
There were a bunch of classes I was like, I don't even know the difference between the specs, because I like never play them. So I had to like have a sort of crash course. I decided like 2 weeks before the mage towers were removed, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and get all the specs. So I just quickly went through some heroic raids to quickly gear them to get as many heroic pieces as possible, and then a quick crash course like before each character. I was like, okay guys, you're gonna help me learn this class now. So I sat there streaming, so like for 1 hour I'm just like asking people about the talents and like what spells I should use, and then I'm like, okay, let's go in. And I did this all on stream, and it was really fun, like for me and the viewers too, to see me be so clueless about all of these classes and then being able to down it. It was just so fun. And now I can get the reward by just inviting a friend, so it doesn't feel as prestigious.
It's not the
or
same.
4 friends.
Oh my god, you get into a rhythm with the mage tower as well, of dying and going back and dying and going back. And like I'm so glad I wasn't streaming at the time, because I think it would be the death of the channel. Because even in one that I pretty much overgeared, it took me like 90 attempts. I got like I got 30, I think, in the end. I got a lot. I got most of them.
Yeah.
But each one was hell. Like I did not enjoy
the tanking ones were so difficult.
The only moment I enjoyed was like the victory, and that felt so sweet. I was like, I'll start again on a different one.
Yeah.
And I did, and I hated that as well until I got the victory, and I was like, oh, this is so great.
No, I was overgearing them as well on the alts, but
like the postal game, the going postal achievement, and like on stream the other day, where you have to answer the trivia questions.
Oh yeah, the different zones.
And I swear, I almost like threw my computer out the window. And I didn't just hate WoW. I didn't just hate myself. I hated everyone watching the stream.
Oh my god!
I hated them.
No!
And I was like, I was going to do a Sylvanas. I'd been like, you are all nothing. Now, if that had been happening when I was doing Mage Tower, I think it'd been the death of the channel.
Oh god!
I'm glad that it wasn't happening.
I think people would have loved it, honestly.
Yeah,
see your progression like that, laugh at you, and then in the end laugh with you.
Yeah, I don't
very good clip content
at all, and clearly horrific visions aren't either. So
no, it's
I don't like all this comparison with Mage Tower.
No, I don't like that it was compared, because now I have no hope for a real Mage Tower. Oh, okay, that's this expansion's Mage Tower. Okay, maybe next expansion.
Yeah.
Do you think Blizzard's gonna try to keep people engaged with being like, oh, well, there's nothing in 8.3, but hey, there's Classic Phase 3 you should try out for these 2
Honestly,
months?
I think, Classic is going to help the staggering. I don't think it's necessarily good for people who don't enjoy Classic, but I think they are kind of keeping that in mind when they're doing the planning. A quiet month. Oh, okay, it's a new phase in Classic now. And then people who are bored might log in, level a couple more levels, get closer to 60, maybe hit 60. If you are 60, maybe go into a raid again. I don't know, do you guys think that's okay to have like a separate game also kind of dictate where the main game is going?
It feels kind of weird, because I was surprised all of 8.3 was in January, because for 8.1 they had part of it in December and then the raid in January. So I thought we were going to get, I don't know, some maybe horrific visions in 8.3, but they didn't do that. But it feels like they're like, oh, well, instead you get Phase 2, because there's nothing to do in retail except for the 15th anniversary event, but you can do Phase 2 in Classic WoW. So I don't know, it felt like Phase 2 was standing in for BFA content, which, I don't know, seems weird.
I mean, it's understandable. I don't think it's necessarily wrong or bad. They did say they wouldn't do that. They keep saying how that's not a thing, and how they're not planning kind of releases to fill in for each other across the 2 games and things like that. But I think it's inevitable that they will.
There will be some like overlap.
Yeah,
there.
for sure.
They're mindful of it.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Yeah, because I'm not going to play classic.
Are you kidding? I'm not going in now. I'm level 43. Phase 2 is just hit.
I know.
No.
I am
You're halfway there.
Yeah.
I've got my team to look after me and everything, but like with BlizzCon and everything, and I don't know about you, but after BlizzCon and seeing all the Shadowlands stuff, I only wanted to play retail when I got back from BlizzCon. Like I was so hyped for Shadowlands and Nyalotha and 8.3 and stuff that I just had no desire at all to play Classic. And I regret that now because I wish I was max level. There's nothing against Classic. Classic is super fun. But, like genuinely.
I think honestly I feel kind of similar. I have been logging into retail a lot more than Classic lately. I still log into Classic to make sure I do my like weekly things. Like we did our Nixie clears today because there's a reset tonight for EU at least. I'm not sure if they are the same on NNA. So Nixie resets tonight, so we wanted to quickly get a raid in because we normally clear it on Fridays, which is tomorrow. So we have both Molten Core and the Nixie tomorrow. So I still make sure to do my resets properly, and so everyone in the guild can be sure that we have a stable guild that will make sure that you get your resets done. But apart from that, like I said before, this might have been before the show, but I'm not a huge fan of world PvP since every time I play the game, I'm streaming. And when I'm streaming, world PvP is not fun. It's not fun seeing 20 people in front of me, the horde ignoring all of them to just target me. And especially as a warlock, I have no way of getting out of there, like no way of, blinking out or staying in stealth or something. So it's not very fun to world PvP. So outside of like my raids and dungeons, since I have pre-bis gear already, there's not that much stuff to do. There's a few things that I could spend my time on, which I still do, like farm reputations. So I got my Darnassus exalted to get my saber. I'm working on winter saber reputation, which I have also been ganked on. So then I had to stop doing that. So it's like, yeah. Sometimes it's fun to just go back to retail and do a raid or play some arenas or like something that's separate from being ganked.
Yeah. I also feel that for people
just teleport.
Like
yeah, we're talking about Classic.
Yeah.
There's no teleport
that
there.
Like Classic, but maybe their lives are busier than they were 15 years ago. I feel that when Classic came out, people took vacation or they were prioritizing it on the weekends. But when you get, several months into it, if playing WoW isn't your job, you probably can't afford to, keep taking days off or only having your weekends be about Classic versus, family or IRL obligations. So I think now people are struggling more to keep up with it if they're on the more casual enthusiast end.
You say that, but I wouldn't, and I don't know the data. I'm sure someone does, but I wouldn't mind betting some money right now that there's already a higher percentage of Classic players at max level than there ever were in vanilla.
Oh yeah. I would think so too.
As a proportion of the player base, I wouldn't mind betting that there are more level 60s in Classic now than there ever were in vanilla.
I don't know. I feel like there's less subscribers.
Yeah, that's why I say like as a proportion.
Right.
Like as a percentage.
Because people know how to play now, right?
Yeah, sure. Totally.
Yeah, it went faster.
So like people spend less time to actually get to max level, and because we have had like 15 years of end game content being more important than the leveling phase, even in Classic, people do care more about the end game than the leveling. I mean, people say that they still enjoy the leveling, so they might level alts and things like that, but there's still this idea or this concept of I need to get to max level. It's not like before where you could be level 33 for weeks or whatever. Like people want to get to max level to start going into MC, having the weekly clears. So I will definitely
say on Wowhead for a while, even this past month with BlizzCon, our top page views have been the Classic BIS gear pages. Wow. So going back to max level being so important and people really getting attached to gear and wanting to farm certain pieces. So
that's super interesting.
It's an interesting. Yeah, I feel like people need to look up gear more in Classic than BFA, but it's interesting seeing that being so dominant. Or on a BlizzCon announcement day, it's like, oh look, let's see what's doing well, and we've got Shadowlands, and we've got mage best in slot up there. Like it's just people are really dedicated to getting their max level gear.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, I thought about doing a stream where we just like stream the analytics on a patch day and you see little stuff going up and down or BlizzCon.
Wow. Yeah, that would be interesting. Can you see those things live?
Yeah, they have a real-time column, so you post something and then you see the numbers go up.
Oh,
or you tweet
that's
something.
cool.
Yeah, or you
I'd love to
Discord
see that.
webbook something. Yeah, it's really soothing. And then everyone in Europe goes to sleep, and then it's depressing because the numbers start going down. You're like, oh, did I do something wrong? This is sad now.
Yeah.
Is there any way you could like? You probably want to take the actual numbers out and just have like a graph going up and down, right? Like,
yeah, well, if the numbers are good, if the numbers are good, broadcast that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, so when do you guys start noticing like a sort of plateau with the Europeans going to sleep? Is it like now?
Yeah, a little like 2 p.m. Pacific, so an hour ago is when
11 p.m. Yeah,
doing other work.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's a similar trend with Twitch in general as well. The viewership on Twitch is peaking up until around 11 p.m. and then it starts going down. It's interesting that it's like that in on the website numbers too.
This is the first time in my life I've ever been streaming at 11 p.m. I like.
Oh no!
I don't even know what hour this is. Like, this is weird.
Because it's so late.
Bad.
Yeah.
No, it feels amazing. Yeah, totally. My blood is pumping.
Yeah. So what else do we have?
We had some just general Shadowlands questions. I mean, I think that we all know that Shadowlands is the next expansion, but we just thought, I don't know, we could talk about what's seemed to be the most exciting to hear, or like what you were surprised by, or what was it like actually prepping for the Q&A? Because you guys have insights
you guys held the Q&A. That was awesome. Very, very well done. It was very entertaining. I was watching the entire thing in person, and unfortunately,
you didn't come up and say hello
again. Well, I did try to say hello afterwards,
but
Taliesin and Evitel are so popular.
Waiting for them to come on stage, so many people started coming up and like shaking hands and being
exactly.
Like,
so many people were there.
I
was like, Talie and Evitel are way too popular for me. Like, can't make it. Too many people. No, but it was really nice to see.
The whole like experience of being involved with the Q&A and being like an official part of BlizzCon for the first time was weird and eye-opening. And we'd been asked to do the Q&A. I don't want to talk about the Blitzchung thing really, but we were asked to do the Q&A before that happened. And then when that happened, everyone was in such a funny place with their heads wondering what was going on and wondering how they felt about Blizzard and things like that. And so we wanted to make sure that the Q&A would be the same as it always had been, and that there wouldn't be any changes, and it would be people asking questions, like their own questions and things like that. And we were given those assurances, and that it would. And when we asked, they were like, "Yeah, obviously."
They're like, "Yes."
Why would we change it?
Usual.
Yeah, seriously. It's like, oh, okay, all right.
Like,
yeah,
oh wait, I live in a bubble.
Oh
on
yeah,
the internet.
totally. And when we got there, and we had our handler, Randy, and we'd say things like, well, what do you want us to do if someone does, change their question to, why do you hate Hong Kong, or something like that? And everyone we spoke to was just like, let them ask the question.
Yeah, it's like,
put it to the panel. Like, John Height's just gonna have to answer that.
Yeah.
They've waited. If they change their question, they change their question.
Exactly.
And so that was really lovely to see how little, I don't want to use the word censorship, but like how little censorship they even considered having. How that was never a thing that they even thought about having. Was to change the Q&A, or to like somehow like censor the Q&A, or to have extra checks on the Q&A, or any part of BlizzCon, because they facilitated the protests.
So this is what Blizzard said.
Yeah, for sure. Like, that was like the official stance. I was allowed to wear a Free Hong Kong pin when we did our stream of Shadowlands, and like that.
That's good to hear, because I feel like
Yeah.
most people's opinion is probably the complete opposite. That everything is gonna be hunted and put down as soon as possible. I thought that you handled it really, really well, and it's nice to hear that it was kind of Blizzard's like view on how it should be handled as well. So that's awesome, because you basically handed the microphone over to the kid. Like, there you go. Like, what do you want to say? Like, you have a voice.
And everyone from Blizzard after that was like, did a good thing there.
Yeah.
Like, like, well done for giving him the mic. Like, it's awesome. Like, it was really cool. So, but just like apart from all of that, like just being a part of it and getting to kind of hang out backstage with those amazing guys who are just brilliant and like
it was
IQ geniuses.
Yeah,
and
it was so cool. And them like kind of giving their time and kind of like prepping and being there for the Q&A. It was it was really special, and it was really magical.
How do they prep for the Q&A? Like, do they are they on stage and do you just practice blocking, or do you ask them sample questions, or like?
No, our rehearsal was like devoid of pretty much anything.
Our rehearsal was hilarious. We got on stage and they're like, "Evitel, take it away," and I was like, "So."
And that's where we're gonna have to write an intro.
Yeah. And I was like, so this is the bit where I do an intro, and then this is the part where I introduce you. Am I doing this right? And then we just kind of talked, because there are no like questions ready yet. Right. Haven't been gathered from anyone yet. And then we're like, and then this is how you walk off stage. We're like, cool. Right. See you.
It's so funny. Like, in case you don't know how to walk,
I'm wearing a microphone on my head, and I'm holding a microphone as well. And like, there's major feedback issues with that. So they're like, you're gonna have to hold this microphone close to people's mouths when they start talking. And I was like, yeah, whatever, man. I've held a microphone before, As soon as the red shirt guy started talking for the first question, I couldn't hear a word he was saying. So this poor dude, this poor legend, red shirt guy, is asking his question, and I'm like just stuffing this microphone up his mouth like this. Okay, it needs to be this close.
It was surprisingly hard to hear everyone actually on the day. It was like, I was like, I really need to listen to what everyone's saying. It's like,
but a really eye-opening thing, like which is almost like not connected at all, but like something I found really interesting about the rehearsal was a lesson that I've learned about leaks and spoilers, and how even when you have a genuine leak, how easy it is to interpret that leak wrong, which is something we saw with the Shadowlands leaks. And it was really interesting to see firsthand, because we went in to do our rehearsal for the Q&A, and Randy asked us before, he's like, do you want me to just tell you everything that's going to be announced tomorrow, so and like, it'll just help with planning and stuff. And I was like, I'm about to learn what and Evie was like, no, we want it to be a surprise. Wanted to divorce you before. No, but anyway, so we went into the rehearsal not knowing anything. But they were finishing up the rehearsal for the What's Next panel. And when they're rehearsing, they don't have the slides on the big screens, because then any old technician or anyone just wandering through can take photos.
I feel like that was a problem with BFA. They had slides and there were some leaks of it.
So but they do have the slides on the monitors that the person practicing on stage is looking at. So we were allowed, once we got fitted for our mics and everything, and we'd met the amazing stage manager guy who I loved, and like everyone back there, they did take us out on stage just so we could see what it was like, and like it was the quickest way for me to get into the crowd and take up my position there and stuff as well. So we went onto stage as this rehearsal was happening, and I saw one of the slides, which was it turns out, it was the slide that said an epic ending 2-boss mini raid. Okay, so imagine it's like the day before BlizzCon, and you've seen this slide that says an epic ending 2-boss mini raid. What would you think? You would think it was 835 and like a 2-boss mini raid at the end of BFA. So that's what I thought it was, and I was like, ooh, I've learned something. I've learned there's going to be a 2-boss mini raid at the end of the FA. Because, you know, what else could it possibly be? And, you know, I didn't tell anyone that, but I was like, I think they're going to reveal some stuff about 8.3 as well. You know, I don't think it's just going to be Shadow. I think in that deep dive, just saying, I think there's going to be some 8. I'm just saying. Just saying. So, like, I'd seen, because obviously it turned out to be talking about the new leveling and the Exiles Reach, which is the new.
Oh, right, the level 10 thing.
And that has an epic ending with a 2-boss mini raid at the end of it, right? So, about the new leveling. So, like, I'd seen a genuine leak. I'd seen a genuine spoiler. I'd seen a thing, and I'd still got it wrong.
Still wrong, yeah.
I still got it wrong. And, like, that taught me something about spoilers and leaks.
The only thing,
how useless they are.
The only thing I saw was as we were kind of like, you know, taking off our mics and stuff, ready to go, and they're like, okay, cool, see you guys later. And then you're behind all of the giant screens, right? That like look out onto you. And then, like, as we were walking out, they all just flashed the Shadowlands logo, and I was like,
"Oh, did they?" The only other thing I heard was, like, after we finished our rehearsal, they played a bit of pre-recorded stuff, and it's like, next up is the Diablo 4. What's next panel?
Wow, what a spoiler!
Oh wow!
You saw Shadowlands logo?
Yeah, it
I
was massive. It was as we were walking out, and I was like,
but yeah, like how easy it is to see like a genuine leak
and
like legit
to
leak,
think it's something else.
Yeah, and to still interpret it wrong.
Yeah,
and that's something
Even
we saw in
the
Build Up
picture-
Shadowlands as well.
Oh,
And, like,
absolutely.
Even like the Bolvar picture that was up on the gear shop, everyone's like, oh, like his eyes are glowing, like Bolvar gets a
I
special
know. And
power.
that was actually
like-
like, if I could change one thing about BlizzCon, it'd be that I'd never seen that picture.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine, like, because it was leaked originally as a page from the merch catalog, like the physical catalog, and it came apparently from someone who hacked a printer, like literally one of the third-party printing firms that they were using. Someone hacked it and got that image.
That explains why the Bastion thing was up as well, because I saw those leaks and I'm like, I don't have a source, I'm not going to cover it, and I ignored it, and then when it was up on the gear store, I'm like, well, I can't ignore this now.
And then when the gear store leak had come out, people knew to check Bolvar in the URL for the gear store, and then then they could find it legit as well, because that was Blizzard's fault. But initially that leak came from a hacked printer, and like, oh my god, like, can you imagine how exciting it would have been to see that cinematic trailer if you hadn't seen that Bolvar image?
Right. Because I feel that everything else leading up to the cinematic was good hype, like Blizzard having the little breadcrumbs being like, oh, will there be Death Knights, you know, like Bolvar encrypted, like that was good for building hype, but seeing the image was too much. I mean, obviously it wasn't intended. But...
And like, I mean, I loved the cinematic anyway, but I can't imagine how excited I'd have been if I hadn't known it. And I've seen people, I think Preach said they definitely leaked that on purpose.
No, I mean,
they
leaked.
Like,
I think they had Ice Crown and the Death Knight textures and the encrypted Bolvar voiceover. I think all that was definitely put in because they kept adding stuff every week.
Yeah,
it wasn't like
you to see.
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh, oops, Wowhead did something crazy, you know, one time, oopsie. It's like every week they kept adding more Death Knight stuff to build hype. So that was intended, but the image wasn't.
That Bolvar image, I can guarantee you that there were lots of people at Blizz who were really upset that got leaked. Like, there's no way that was intended.
Yeah,
and it's a shame. And I just think of like the hype that I missed for not seeing that for the first time. Like in situ, you know, and it just.
Yeah, especially because the earliest image, I mean, the hacked printer, that was not really high definition. It was, you know, sort of blurry and cropped and cut off and...
Kind of ruins the feeling, Yeah.
I
mean, at least the cinematic was still amazing. It still had, you know, somewhat of a plot twist. And, like, even with that leak, there were still surprises. But it would have been even more epic. Like, when I was watching it, I was like, oh my god, are we actually getting a Lich Queen? And it's like, wait, what? What's happening now? So it was still really good, but it would have been a lot more if we hadn't seen that one. And I also, a lot of times I feel like finding wrong leaks is more fun than correct leaks. So like that's why I love people just like speculating or like finding things and like are completely wrong about it, then it becomes exciting. But when it's like, oh yeah, this is the exact thing, then it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And like for me, when the features trailer started playing,
Mm-hmm.
all I was looking for were the place names that were in that map that from the very first
right.
kind of big shadow.
Yeah.
And when the place names were different, I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know, I mean, it wasn't a leak.
Right.
It's the name of the expansion, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, it just wasn't a leak. It was literal, just made up fan
It's
fiction.
just speculation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah.
Just like
And that's okay.
all clever people said it was at the time. Remember? Clever people saying that.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
But it was a great BlizzCon. We had an amazing time.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like it was.
You guys did
I'm
great.
sure it is for
Yeah.
all you guys. You know what it's like. It's like non-stop. So we had the Con Before the Storm on the Thursday night, which is our favorite part of BlizzCon, and it's part of the Wowhead party this year as well. So we're in that amazing.
Yeah, really happy we paired up.
Ah,
More
fantastic.
space than ever before.
So good. So well, we had our rehearsal first of all, and then we got to Con Before the Storm a little bit later, but we stayed there until they threw us out, basically. Just and it was amazing. It was just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then we had the opening ceremony, and then we had our stream slot, like actually playing Shadowlands and running around Bastion for a bit on the Friday.
Yeah.
On Saturday we had the Q&A, and on Sunday we had the live weekly reset episode that we did.
I was there.
And it's just like we never had a moment to even stop and breathe. Really, it was brilliant,
Worth it.
super fun.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And then Monday you got IHOP.
And then Monday we had IHOP, which is like the way to wind down.
Yeah, thing for just before heading to the airport.
Yeah,
we were like, what are we gonna do?
I was sat editing the weekly reset episode in the foyer of the Marriott and uploading it mere minutes before like we went to meet Peculiar for some fat pancakes.
Aw.
It was awesome.
Yeah, I'm like, this is the most out of character thing for me. I'm like, why is the pancake green? I don't understand.
Why is it covered in spring
Wait,
rolls?
why was it green?
Why?
Because it's Christmas.
Yeah.
Wait,
We
really?
love that IHOP near BlizzCon.
Oh,
It's so good.
Okay. So they do like
honestly,
odd
I love it.
colors like that? Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have
Yeah.
IHOP here, so I don't know much about IHOP.
Yeah.
Pancake.
But yeah, so
all you need
out
to
of all the announcements, what were you, I mean, like on a more specific level than Shadowlands, what were you most excited to learn about, and what were you totally surprised by? Although I guess you answered that with how your Exiles Reach leak was totally wrong, but yeah, and you can answer too.
We did a video a few months ago, a weekly reset episode, where we posit the idea of leveling in one specific expansion.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Mm.
And it can't be that they used that idea. It must have been in like sort of development long before we ever did that episode.
No, I think it was from you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
they totally threw out that
Definitely.
idea.
I'm glad you came in with the line that I was hoping Evie would come
No.
in with. And so like, and we were proud of that idea, and we really liked it as an idea, obviously. So like, that was something I was super happy to see.
It's really cool. Honestly, I didn't think that would be able.
Go live just before Shadowlands in the same way that the kind of like the scaling world did before BFA, I guess. I don't know, but I'm super hyped about that, and I'm really excited about Covenants as well.
Yeah, I'm super excited about, I mean, we talked about this a little bit already, but just the fact that everything with Shadowlands, everything feels fresh, and it feels like a new universe.
Yeah.
And kind of a new game. And I remember even after like watching the first day, I was like, okay, and learning a bit more about it, and I was like, why does this feel good? I can't figure out why it feels good, but it does feel good. And it's like, oh yeah, it's because like I'm not thinking about Azeroth. Thank God. Like for the first time in a really long time, I don't have to think about like Azeroth. I don't have to think about these stories that are so like ingrained in World of Warcraft. It just felt like this escape. And then playing a little bit of Bastion, I was like, I'm in like this fantasy universe. This is cool. Like this is my like video game
In a video game.
from a video game in a way. Like the things in Warcraft get too real sometimes, and that I was like really pleasantly surprised by how I felt about.
I like the idea too. How like we're in the Shadowlands, so like any dead character could, in theory, pop up.
Yeah.
And like in Azeroth, you're like, oh well, like
Yeah.
we're not going to see so and so, even though he's really cool because he's dead now. But I like, it feels like something could happen unexpected, some interesting interaction.
I'm hoping they don't go overboard with that stuff. Like I was saying right at the beginning, like I'm really excited about them doing all new stuff and all new lore. And obviously there are all of these famous dead people in the Shadowlands, and I hope they don't
overdo
fall
it.
back on that too much.
I don't think it'll be too bad.
Yeah.
Because it's not like an alternate universe.
No,
right?
I know, but
it's not an alternate reality, which for me feels really flimsy.
Like
those, I'm always a bit like, oh god.
Yeah,
really?
Warlords was like too much.
But they go, okay, so in Wrathion, we're going to meet Uther. And that's exciting, but it's not as exciting as this is the jailer. That's exciting. Like you go, here is a big giant dude.
Why
and
not
he's
both?
The yeah, why not both? But like the new stuff for me is more exciting.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Like,
New mysterious things rather than just bringing back old ones.
Exactly. And like, they've said that there's no covenant in the Maw, but they've also kind of hinted that there is. And it won't be one we can join, obviously, because it would happen later in the game, and that would be stupid. Like, there won't be another covenant you can join later on in the game, I wouldn't have thought. But I wouldn't be surprised if the covenant in the Maw is like a freedom fighter force made up exclusively of famous old characters. Like, so Saurfang and like maybe Arthas, maybe but famous characters, all the characters that are trapped in the Maw when we go in there as well, because we're going to go in there with a team of people, none of whom come out after the intro scenario. Like only we come out.
Yeah.
The rest of our team gets stuck in there, and we have to rescue them. And like that will be the covenant. That will be like the faction from the Maw.
Yeah. You know who else is going to be in there? All of the turtles that didn't make it to the water.
Oh no!
All the night elves are in the Maw right now.
Yes.
Tally,
Like-
the turtles. There's so many.
Oh my god.
So like and like that'll be exciting. I kind of hope that's where they use all of their famous dead people fun stuff. I wouldn't mind seeing like there's stuff like just huge lore stuff that you wonder about, like do Titan souls go to the Shadowlands when they die? Like it's older than the Titans. The Titans like have souls. We know that immortal things do go to the Shadowlands because that's what Ardenweald is for. Like there are like this where Cenarius goes and stuff like that. And I'd be really interested to see if that planet that Sargeras chopped in half with his sword because it was void corrupted, if that world soul is in the Shadowlands, or if dead Argus, who we killed, is in the Shadowlands, like just chilling out with like the rest of all the dead people. Like that kind of thing would be really interesting, but I don't want it to be too fan servicey. Like
I don't think it will.
Here is Uther. Here is Arthas.
I mean, they'll be there, but there's other stuff going on.
Yeah, I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so.
That's my feeling.
Yeah. I am excited that the Night Elf story is apparently going to continue in 9.0 because it feels very incomplete and sort of in the middle of something doesn't really feel good now. And maybe that's the point. Like maybe we're meant to feel like, why is there this piece? Like no one cares about rebuilding Teldrassil or the homeless people. But with the Blizzard Watch interview, they did say that she was going to have a really big story moment in Ardenweald, which I'd be excited about.
I think, if I had to guess, I would think that story moment would be a resolution. I think she goes there angry at Elune and the things that she learns there. And I don't think Elune is going to appear and like talk to us or anything, but I think she'll talk to wild gods who are regenerating there and stuff and things like that. And they'll explain it. And maybe she'll have like some kind of seance with Elune or something. And that will kind of put her mind at rest. She'll learn that all the souls are going to the Maw and stuff like that and see that it's not really Elune's fault. And that will calm her down and that will help her find her peace.
Yeah, and she'll learn why Elune couldn't really do much. And the wording used was very deliberate because in the novellas they're all talking about Elune was opposed to this and Tehran's like, I want to learn about the mystery why Elune abandoned us, and then in the interview they use that same word mysteries again. So it all has to be related to that.
Yeah, so I think people have heard that Tyrande is going to be in Ardenweald, and I think a lot of people assume that's going to be an escalation of her character, but I think it's going to be the other way around. I think it's going to be some kind of a resolution and getting her back on side from what
I mean, it did feel pretty bad in the Q&A. They'd be like, oh yeah, I guess the Night Elves won Darkshore, and it's like, where's our cinematic? Like, where's this moment of triumph. Like, why did we just get Sourfang reacting to the tree burning? Like, why don't the Night Elves get a moment of like, yay, we actually did something that was rebuilding? So
Yeah.
I hope there's more resolution, because I think BFA on purpose was trying not to make the Night Elf story feel good. So I hope that's building up towards the 9.0 resolution. So it's
What
not
do you
just
think
all
will
off
happen
screen.
with the Night Elves and like their capital? Because
Yeah.
do you think they'll rebuild Teldrassil, or do you think, because they're based in High Mountain right now? Oh, sorry, in Mount Hyjal.
That'd be strange. I think that we could see Darkshire being rebuilt. It's also, I think I've mentioned this even in the weekly reset or some other places, I forget, but when you play Classic, you learn that there's like, you remember that the tree was not really built on a good, stable, healthy foundation, that it's all corrupt. So you're sort of like, wow, this was kind of a ticking time bomb. Like this was sort of a bad idea, lots of bad politics surrounding the tree. So I don't know. I feel like Darkshore could be built up more as a hub. We could actually see them winning the Warfront, maybe. It could be like pretty and growing for a change. And I feel like I wouldn't rule out a new world tree being built, but maybe once we go back to the Dragonflights in 10.0, maybe it would end with them actually, I don't know, making a nice healthy tree again that the Night Elves could go into. I could see that happening.
How long would it
spread out
take to
more.
create a tree like that?
I mean,
Teldrassil grew super quick,
yeah. So
and it was like magic tree, so it just
yeah.
went, like that.
Okay, okay. So it could potentially happen then.
Right, but I mean, first they need to get their powers.
Yes,
back,
of course,
they
of course.
Yeah.
But at the moment, they're like officially based in Mount Hyjal, and I kind of maybe like to see a new hub be built around there. I'd be up for that.
Yeah.
I'd be down with new capital.
Yeah, I could see that too. I just feel bad that all their zones keep being destroyed. I mean, Darkshore has been a punching bag for so long, and it's like this is like the definitive zones you see in the classic trailer and the pretty zones, and now they're all like sad looking, and Darkshire already got pummeled in Cataclysm, and then they get further uprooted. So I don't know. I feel we need some smoothing the zone out. At least one of the zones. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, Annie, what were you most excited about or surprised by from BlizzCon with the announcements?
Oh, most excited. I think very similar to what Evitel was saying as well. This idea of being in a new realm, and I loved listening to how we're learning new terms. Like what was that? Was it anima? The new things to do with this sort of new world sounds really, really exciting. It makes it feel fresh. It's a lot more than just a new zone. I mean, even new zones are exciting when there's new expansions, but this is like the next level. So I think that's probably the most exciting thing. And gameplay wise, I'm excited to see that they're gonna bring back more things to different classes, different abilities that were pruned in the past. I think that's also another thing that they may have taken from Classic, realizing that people like having extra abilities even if you don't use them all the time, like giving back more permanent totems to shamans, or bringing back the curses to warlocks, or specific abilities that are used in specific situations, like Shattering Throw for warriors. I think it's really nice to see those things as well, to just add a little bit more flavor to each class. And there's always that funny thing with the mages, for example. Like you start off with Frostbolt, and you hit level 10, and then if you choose Fire Spec, you forget how to cast a Frostbolt. So having those things back where you can actually cast whichever spell you want to, because you're supposed to be a mage, you're supposed to be good at all the magic schools, but then you specialize into, let's say, fire. And I think the idea of that is also exciting and fun to see.
I also liked how Blizzard had a sense of humor about that. Like, oh, it's Holinka the Unpruner. It's nice that they could sort of poke fun and sound down to earth, as opposed to like, best expansion ever. We have deigned to grant you a new ability. So that was cool. I like the tone of the presentation.
It's always nice when Blizzard or people at Blizzard kind of like go along with things that sort of turn into memes, like such as the you think you do but you don't. Like
that was
he uses it himself too, and that makes the whole thing like so much like lighter and more positive. So that's nice as well.
Yeah. Totally. And I feel like I am slightly worried about. That's one of the big worries, isn't it? Because like no matter what the kind of central systems of an expansion are, a lot of it always comes down to how good your particular spec feels to play. So the class changes and class designs are always so important. Be BFA gets a lot of stick for its class design, and I think like a lot of the classes have been kind of dumbed down, for want of a better term. Some classes in BFA are exquisite, like Discipline Priest, Fury, like Unholy is a beautiful spec at the moment. Like Havoc is a lovely spec. Like there are some really like top draw specs in BFA, which are a joy to play. I feel like that's the kind of thing that happens towards the end of a development process. And it's the thing you get like the least testing on. And it's one of the most important things. And it makes me go, ugh. And like,
Azerite was tested super
told like
late.
old stuff that you're getting back. I'm always gonna be more interested in like what new stuff you're giving me. Like it's like, oh cool, like, you know, I'm getting this old thing back, that's great. Like I'm gonna be able to use a hammer as like an elemental shaman up until level 10, great. But what new stuff is gonna be in my rotation at next level? Like that's a more important thing.
It's also seeing the interactions between the old stuff coming back, and they're talking about like, oh, like you'll have a special tree you can unlock and all these other abilities, and it's like, well, how's that going to be balanced? Or what happens if one Covenant's abilities are way better than someone else's?
And I think they don't even know a lot of that yet. And the thing that fascinates me about Covenants is that, and that's is why a lot of people say that Shadowlands feels lacking to them, because what would have been like 4 different features is all covered by Covenants. So Covenants
which weren't testable.
The job of Order Halls, it does the job of the War Campaign, or if Ian is to be believed, oh please let him be believed, it's going to be more like Suramar, but like 4 different Suramars at max level. Like the Soul Binding does the job of like the artifact weapon and an extra talent tree, and things like that, with and also like the Netherlight Crucible as well, with the conduits that kind of like fit in there as well, and have all of this like cosmetic stuff on top of that, and be part of the anima grind as well. So you've got like what would be 3 or 4 standout features in any other features trailer, all coming under the banner of Covenants, which is why they have to be good.
They
have to be good. And they, if the work is put into them on the same level as like the work that was put into that kind of stuff in Legion, they will work and they'll be brilliant. You just really need them to be, don't you?
Yeah, and the marketing as well. Like I've seen so many people being like, oh, so like the Covenant, I'll use the word interchangeably with the new zone. And I feel like if they use Covenant for too many features or zones or parts of the game, it will just sort of blur into like, oh, there's no new quest line. Oh, there's no new zones. Like I feel that they need to nail their marketing materials.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to BFA, it was sort of weird in retrospect how BFA was like, oh, you know, like faction pride, you know, like pick a side, like, you know, like both sides equal, like, you know, Savannah staring down Anduin at Undercity, and then it's like, oh, the tree was actually burning.
Yeah.
Like,
I loved all that. And I like the idea that there's going to be like this overall kind of end game objective of always trying to craft a new legendary and stuff like that, and like you're going to be going and doing your Torghast and stuff and getting your runes so that you can forge a legendary, and that's going to be, I think, the overall grind end game beyond sort of raiding and stuff. That's going to be like your day-to-day thing, is getting your runes to make your legendaries, right?
Yeah. I'm also really happy it's just beyond the faction conflict, sort of going back to the unexpected in the story. It's not like, oh, well, you know, we've got all these characters and we know that they like fighting with each other. It's we know that there is sort of this villain, someone that isn't morally gray. We know there is a villain, the jailer, and he'll be playing a big role in the future. We're sort of moving towards this as opposed to like, are we always the bad guys? Yeah, there's like motivation. Yeah.
Like the storytelling in BFA is amazing. I think it's like the best story delivery system that WoW has ever had. But because we weren't like, it did miss a big bad. It really missed having like something you could just hang it on, you know? Like, and I felt like Legion did a little bit as well, but at least Legion had like an incredibly clear baddie. Like it was the Burning Legion, so it stands to reason that we'll be fighting Sargeras or something like it at the end. It wasn't hard to imagine. Whereas with BFA, it was always like, I don't know. I'm like, but how does it fit in? And it never really did quite fit in, even now, to be honest. Like it has kind of come out of nowhere a little bit, and I know it has been building up to it. But yeah, like having the jailer there just automatically feels so much better. Like it automatically feels so good. And I wonder how much better BFA would have felt if they'd gone at the reveal. We're going to fight N'Zoth at the end. Like,
yeah, I mean, they teased a little with Ashara, but I feel like they could have, I don't know, went more into that, being like, oh, like Ashara is doing something. She's not just this random character.
Yeah.
And guess who
yeah,
Ashara
they were
is?
vague and they were coy about it, and I know why they were. But I feel like if they'd imagine if they'd shown that N'Zoth skybox from the raid.
Yeah.
Like a final
like
image,
like they did with Argus. Yeah.
BlizzCon 2017. Like that would have given us something to be aiming for all the way through. And
like a more solid red thread.
So
yeah,
this
totally.
This wasn't in our notes, but because talking about raid testing, Ashara does stuff in the raid, and she's around there too, and she has a mysterious line about trying to find the true source of power. Are we going to see her in Shadowlands, or is she going to be like a 10.0 character being like, oh, oops, I never got the Lich King helm, I'm back way later?
Well, do we know, big red spoiler bot here, do we know what happens to the Blade of the Black Empire? In the No,
because
we don't know, do we?
Wrathion just walks off with it after Ashara flounces off.
Yeah, and Ashara's like, you're going to need this to kill N'Zoth.
Yeah.
But as far as it looks from the data mine text, we don't use it to kill N'Zoth. We use something different.
Right.
So I just wonder what happens to it.
Yeah. So, but Ashara is definitely still out there, and she has the line about the finding the true throne of power. So who knows if she's trying to beat Sylvanas off to.
I think if she's talking about personally, my gut feeling is that if she's talking about the true throne of power, she's seen like visions of the Black Empire and of the Void Lords, I'd imagine, from N'Zoth. So if she's talking about the true throne of power, my feeling is she'd be talking about the Void Lords, and I've got a feeling we won't see her again until 10.0 or until like the whole big Void.
And this was really funny because she's like, you know, we try to kill her, and then she's so charismatic. We then try to free her a patch later. And then she's like, oh, I don't need to stick around. Like, I'm sure you'll kill N'Zoth just fine. I'm out of here. So she knows something we don't.
Yeah. Totally. But no, I'd be surprised if we saw her in Shadowlands. Totally.
Yeah. She's a fun character, though. I'm glad that she.
It's awesome. Walking around with a wine glass.
I know. She's my favorite character.
Very classy.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if this was ages, but someone has been helpfully highlighting all the parts in the notes we've gotten to as we've been skipping around. Which
helpful.
Yeah. You mean the gray parts?
Yeah.
It was actually me.
Oh.
Because I felt like
organized.
I felt like I couldn't tell what parts we've talked about without having to read it. So I was like, I'm just gonna mark it gray. Like this way we know. Yeah, I think we've covered everything actually at this point.
Yeah, so I guess we can ask Chad if they. Yeah, we can ask Chad if they have any questions.
We've never touched on the 15th anniversary. The thing that Annie started talking about at the very beginning.
I was gonna ask, like, we do have the 15th anniversary, but I don't think Tally wanted to hear anything about it.
I just wanted to highlight that there's Khadgar soccer and
it's amazing.
That's all I wanted to highlight with it.
And the little Easter egg where your own NPC like appears in front of you and it's like, I've come from the future to tell you, and then another one appears and they start pointing. They do the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah.
So good. So
I
good.
like the sugary pink shard that makes everything pink as well.
Yeah.
It's like the
Night,
like, and Leroy picking stool in the Caverns of Time.
Yes.
Which I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
All of that I loved, and we when we got to the Caverns of Time, we play with war mode on, obviously, because we're ballers. And when Mike got there, there was a huge group of Horde like killing all of the Alliance there.
Yes.
So we killed all the Horde, and we stayed there for a good half an hour killing any Horde that came into the Caverns of Time.
Oh wow!
There was skeletons everywhere. It was
it was savage, but it was.
Those guys did not kill no bosses.
No, they did
it's funny. So my group actually happened, or most of us happened to be war mode off as we went there. And then we would have like one guy who had war mode on, and he would get completely slaughtered like immediately. And whenever we summoned, because we started making a whole raid group for people to, you know, be there as well. And whenever somebody had war mode on and they came in, dead instantly. I think we just have a lot of Horde, I guess, on my server.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. And it's just as well because like the actual raid was a bit of a damp squid, really.
Yeah, it was a little bit disappointing, a little bit short, a little bit little, but still cool to make sure that you do get to pick up all the rewards and stuff. So if you're interested in that, make sure that you log in, get your pet, and make sure you get through all of the raids as well to get your new Deathwing mount. And apart from that, there isn't really that much.
It's really funny how the Deathwing mount is all like, I'm the Lord of Death. And then, like, oh, well, I think some other people also think that they're in charge of death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Join the queue, mate. Join the queue.
Yeah.
In line.
But yeah, we could ask chat if they have any questions, and as we're giving chat a few minutes to type that, was there a Shadowlands announcement you think people may have overlooked or forgotten with the flood of news?
That's an interesting one. I feel like no one's talking about the pre-patch. Which, I think sounds super exciting. Not just because of the pre-patch itself, but like so we're writing a video at the moment. Our next non-weekly reset video is going to be the 13 biggest questions about Shadowlands, right? And it's been super fun to write. And one of the questions is, what happens to the Scourge? Because, like, you know, the whole point is that the Helm of Domination is broken now. So the Scourge are, like, free. They're like, whoa, party time. And that's what the pre-patch is, right? They're like, party time. What do we do when we party? We go and kill everyone. So, like, the pre-patch is, putting down Scourge invasions. And that sounds really fun. That'd be really good. But then, presumably, that stops when the expansion starts. So what happens to the Scourge? Do we literally wipe them out in the pre-patch so they're not a threat anymore? Or do they just go into hiding or something, which would be a bit weird? Or what? I don't. Now that there's no Lich King, what happens to the Scourge? That's like a big question that is raised, which I hope the pre-patch goes some way to kind of answer a little bit. That's what I hope.
So so a little detail that I didn't see as many people talking about is it seems that Sylvanas' model changes again at the end of the feature trailer, and we kind of get a hint of that when she, when the helm breaks and the sky opens. She looks kind of gray. And I think we assumed it was because of the lighting, but if you look at her model at the end of the features trailer, she's now wearing all gray, like it's very just one tone. And the new Warcraft 3 model for her Banshee form has really similar colors. I think we even like superimposed them, and you can't really tell the difference. So I'm kind of looking forward to her getting a different tinted model.
And at the end of the features trailer, she's got no legs either, is she? She's like doing a floaty kind of banshee thing.
Right.
And with the dark Valkyrie, those Valkyrie, they're pretty evil looking,
Yeah, they are.
They're like
I want to know
Valkyrie.
what happens to the original 9, because when the camera pans back, I think there's 4 in the frame. So you're like, oh, when the Valkyrie died above, did they all just go back down and serve the jailer again? Like, are these the original 9 Valkyrie that are serving her? Are these more Valkyrie now? So I want to learn more about the Valkyrie.
Like the story implications are like very exciting in Shadowlands. I can't wait. It's gonna be great.
We have a question here.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Evitel, do you still play your hunter? What spec are you more into lately?
Oh my god, I've just been playing BM Hunter lately.
Expansion, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much all expansion. Which, here's a question: when can I use my artifact bows with my BM Hunter? Like when? Because the guns are fine.
You miss those quivers, man.
Oh my god, the quivers.
Yeah, that's a question back at you to chat, guys. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I've been playing BM Hunter. It's great. I'm looking forward to seeing like next expansion and seeing what happens. Maybe I'll go back to marksmanship. Maybe I'll do it just for the quivers. I don't know.
And like the problem is like BM Hunter is quite fun in BFA. It's my favorite of the ranged hunter specs.
It's so easy.
Well, that's what people say, and like it's very easy to judge Evitel for being a BM Hunter this expansion. But I watched Evitel nail the mage tower in Legion on a laptop with a trackpad. Thumb on the trackpad, control the character with a trackpad and like
trackpad and keys.
She at level, she didn't overgear it. She nailed both of those mage towers on a trackpad, and I'd like to see.
There you go. Yeah. I think you guys who would say anything bad need to do that, record it, and then you may have the right to speak. Oh, Mage Tower is not in the game anymore. Oh, sorry. Well,
Sorry.
too bad. We have a question which is about the anniversary event. Can you get Invincible or the Ragnar's mount from the 15-year specialty raids? And yes, I believe you can.
Yeah, we covered that in the news, actually. It's from the satchel you get for clearing the 3 bosses, and the time walking mount also dropped. But it's specific, so Invincible won't be from the Rag raid, it's from the Wrath raid.
Yeah. So as long as it's the correct expansion, that's where the mount would be in that case. Do you think among the cancelled mobile titles, in the quotation mark, was the Battle Pet Go mobile app? Was there an official statement about cancelled mobile titles?
I don't think there was.
No, people like assumed that BlizzCon was going to be all about mobile, just like they assumed the Q&A was cancelled.
Mobile,
and, like,
new
there's so
IP,
much like misinformation about like, and all just bad stuff that people could think of. So like,
I want there to...
oh, it'll be mobile games, and that's clearly not going to be the case. Yeah. Like I read someone who genuinely thought on Twitter that like they'd made the Diablo 4 cinematic to get away from the Blitzchung thing. As in, like, the Blitzchung thing happened, they were like, you better make a Diablo 4 cinematic.
Yeah, guys, you know, we have 2 weeks. Can we do it quick?
Press the cinematic button.
Yeah, like, so like,
yeah.
You know, I think there's been a narrative that has been pushed after like Immortal and stuff like that says that Blizzard only make mobile games now, which has always been rubbish. It's always been useless. And like, I don't think they cancelled any mobile announcements at BlizzCon. I just don't think they had any. You know, they just had too much other stuff to talk about. Like, you know,
I still want there to be a Warcraft Go. Like that would be amazing.
I'm sure there will be.
Oh yeah, one day.
I'd play it.
Yeah.
I think it would be really fun if they announced it, and then if you have your app installed, like the game just appears, and they're like, "Oh look, this raid has spawned. Let's all kill Ragnaros by the fountain," and then there's like little Pepes flying around your app.
So cool. I'd play it. I'd play it. Especially if you could have some kind of like augmented reality whereby, like, if you held it up in real life and looked at stuff through your camera, it like augmented buildings into like Warcraft buildings and things like that.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That would be so cool.
That'd be good.
Yeah, and it's just like I think it would be a nice way to get people to actually see each other face to face, because everyone seems so much nicer when you can actually interact. So if it's like, oh, you know, there's a raid in the major city to take down Rag, it's like, oh look, now you have Warcraft players actually meeting and discussing the game as they're waiting for this, you know, monster to spawn. And it's been really nice meeting people that way with Pokemon Go in my town. And I don't know, I think it would help people just cool down and get along more if they could, I don't know, talk about the game face to face. So it would be therapeutic and also exercise. So I've walked so much more since playing Pokemon Go, catching it.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm trying to just sort of skim through. A lot of them are just statements like Mage Tower is great. I hope they make more. I did on every class spec. Yay. Same. But I don't think it'll be this expansion, sadly. Since Perfect Visions has already been, you know, compared to be Mage Tower. Let's see. Cinematic easy took a year to make. Yeah, no, I think the cinematic was made in 2 weeks, easily. You know, to offside bad PR.
Yeah.
No, you're wrong. I think they had a completely different cinematic. Like, I think they had a really bad cinematic where everyone was playing on their phones.
Oh yeah.
Until the Blitzchung thing happened, and then they went, "We're gonna need something to distract." Them.
Yeah.
Right? They locked the team in a room, and they were like,
"No sleep." Yep.
Make this happen. That's clearly what happened. Like, I watched YouTube. I know what I the stories.
What if there is a hidden mythic only boss in 8.3? Also, when we come back from Shadowlands, the Scourge will have wiped everything out, which will lead to a new revamped world in 10.0. I'm not sure if that was a question or a statement, but is there anything you want to comment on?
And we were talking about like a really cool ending that you could have to Shadowlands, okay? What if, right? Like you were like in the last raid of Shadowlands, you don't know who the final boss is, right? But you know that they're in this room at the end. And like, say you're fighting through Torghast or something. There's a raid of Torghast. Like you're letting people out of jail cells. So like you release Jaina, who has been in there since the very beginning when you all went to the mall together. And you're like, okay, here we go. And you're fighting through, and you get there, and it's like Anduin. And Anduin's like, oh, you've come to rescue me. Thank goodness, I've been dead for years. And you go,
Oh,
what?
okay.
Yeah, I've been dead for years. I'm in the Shadowlands. Look, it's like,
Whoa.
you've been dead for
Well,
years.
time-
And who? And you run back to Stormwind, and I don't know, some old god or like some someone who's been pretending to be Anduin for years is just like taken over and is like, yeah, bitches. I just think that'd be awesome.
That
Like,
would actually
even
be crazy.
Shadowlands, you think is alive, would just be a
Right.
really cool like plot device and a really cool plot twist. Like seeing, like you just meet someone in Shadowlands and you're like,
Wait, aren't you
But you're
alive?
oh, I've been dead for years. I've been here. I remember. And you're like, oh shit. Then
Who is that?
Right.
I think that'd be really cool.
What if
Yeah.
Savannah's is there?
The what? Oh, Sylvanas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if she's there?
It'd be really awesome. Yeah. I think that'd be really cool. It'd be a nice
Yeah.
little, like plot twist, little hook, a little dramatic beat. Be good.
Mhm. Yeah, and if it happens, you know, you guys know who to give the credit to, as usual.
It is canon, I am right.
Right, 100% of the time.
Oh, it's just someone mentioning Mancook's wife in the chat. Mancook's wife is 100% going to be in the Shadowlands. Like, I would bet as
I
much.
think that
money
was
as you-
in the Lost Codex interview, actually, how they're like, oh, someone's wife from the Barrens is
There's
coming back.
literally no
Yeah.
chance that Mancook's wife is not going to be in Shadowlands as like a little like funny quest or something.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they even had her in alternate Warlords as a little side thing. So yeah, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't think there's any other questions that we haven't sort of touched in one way or another. So I think that may be a wrap for today.
Yeah.
Quite a
So-
few things, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but it's actually we've been here talking for 3 hours.
I know.
Yeah, and it's now like midnight European time
I
that you're
did notice
streaming.
actually because my whiskey completely like wore off.
Oh yeah, and that happens after exactly this many hours and this minute.
Yeah.
Internal clock. No, but really, thank you guys again for joining us. Always very fun having you guys comment and you know, just being able to chat with you all about all the different things. Even though you guys skipped the first topic until the very end of the show, it's okay.
Our notes are upside down, just like Shadowlands.
Yeah,
I'm so
yeah.
sorry. I'm the worst guest. You're the worst guest.
No, I mean we even have a new
Canon,
system
I'm
now.
a terrible guest.
We even have a new
Yeah.
system now of graying out the topics we've talked about. So this is great.
Yeah.
You know, you're helping us skill. You know, so that's great.
Yeah.
Improve and
And
skill.
yeah, look, you've got to promise us that you're going straight to bed now. No staying up data mining all night, all right? You can be like, ooh, time to go and do some data mining. Just go to bed. Rest.
4 p.m.
I was gonna say it's still early for her.
You'll still be there tomorrow.
Yeah, go to bed at 4 p.m. Perk.
I have so many articles I did. I'd be like, ooh, I'm gonna write up like dragons or not dragons. And
Wait, what did
Shadowlands.
Evitel say? I didn't hear. I think Evitel said something, but I didn't hear what she said.
Oh, sorry, I just sneezed, and then
Oh.
I said that I've been holding that sneeze for 3 hours.
We know Evel's
Oh,
quite busy right now, so 3 hours is the longest she's
This
gone
is the
without
longest-
breaking wind for like a week.
Exactly. You guys are really lucky.
Oh. Yeah, especially
Yeah, Bright-
especially
Bright Paw's,
because
like,
of your
done,
pregnancy
so-
as well. Like, thank you for
Yeah.
being able to make the time to come
Yeah,
here.
really.
Oh,
Yeah, you were
of course.
sick a few days ago, so we really appreciate you making the time. Even
Mhm.
No, this is
A lot of other stuff.
Absolute joy. Hanging out with some friends. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. And
Yeah.
thank you to you guys in the chat as well for hanging out. If you guys want to find Taliesin and Evitel, and that shouldn't be an if, you do want to, then just search their names on YouTube, Twitter, and is there any other platform that you want to? Twitch too, actually. You guys have been streaming pretty
Oh, yeah, we
regularly.
Twitch now.
I should
Yeah, we
add a Twitch logo to that. Yes.
Yeah, no, that's more than enough. That's too much. Don't hunt us down on all those things. Whatever you do.
Plenty.
It's too much.
Hunt them down on all the platforms with nice things, okay? Nothing bad. With nice things. Okay, my cat is being a little bit
Oh yeah, Brightpaw, like, so he was sort of scratching at the door and kind of making angry faces, and I thought he was gonna pee on the door, so I opened the door for him, and now he's just run off somewhere. I think he's on.
Oh.
Is he
I,
beyond the door?
I think
Beyond
Luna
something?
was I think Luna was sleeping for like
So,
2 hours or something, and now
he's-
she's got so much energy.
Yeah, so Brightpaw is neutered, but when something happens that he doesn't like, he will pee on the wall. Like when the
Really?
people bungled trimming the tree, he got really angry and he started peeing on the door right next to them cutting down the tree.
Right next to them.
Yeah.
And we don't have any trees.
Oh, that's actually hilarious.
That's why streaming is a nightmare. That's why people are always like provoking you, and you're just.
Yeah, the cat feels it too. The pressure of streaming. Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm streaming, I get angry and I just reach behind me and like take all of the models off the shelf.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh, but I have a place to put
Poor
Pepe now.
dolls. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Ninja Pepe's got a spot now, so that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you to everyone for, tuning in to our first show since BlizzCon, and we'll be back as usual next week, same time. We're back to Thursdays now since we don't have the things that forced us to change schedule last month. So back to Thursdays, 2 p.m. is it, or 3 p.m. Pacific?
No, it's
1 p.m.
Pacific.
Okay, yeah, I know my time zones. It's at 1 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. European Central Time, and we'll hopefully catch you there. Is there any last things that you guys want to say?
Just thank you for having us, and thank you for such a great time at BlizzCon, Perk, and thanks for avoiding us again.
Yeah.
Whoa! I was not
Thanks
avoiding
for
you
having
guys.
me on the
I was in
show.
the crowd fangirling you guys, okay? Super proud of you guys. You guys did an amazing job at the Q&A.
Annie was like, we were all so busy that Annie got an extra classic collector edition press thing, and she was gonna give it to me, and we were so busy that she never gave it to me, so it's still in her suitcase.
Yeah, so I have two of the, the one with the marbles, like the Eye of Cthulhu and things. I've got two of those boxes, and I was gonna give one to Park, and it was with me, it was in my suitcase, but totally forgot to give it to her. So, well, this means we have to meet soon, Park. Now we have an excuse to have to meet each other, so I can give that to you.
Yeah.
Hi, Luna.
You can come over and meet Bright
each
Paw,
other, so I can give that to you. Okay,
Now I feel better.
All right, she somehow made the stream start so I could hear myself for a moment. Now she's a... Yeah, I think she probably wants some food or something, so I should head off. But yeah, thank you again, everyone, and we'll see you again hopefully next week. Same time.
Yeah.
And thanks again to Taliesin and Evitel for
high
being
five.
here. Oh yeah, the high five.
High five him? Wait, hang on. I've gotta work out where the...
Which side, Annie? Are we mirrored? Okay, we're good.
You go down to Perk. I'll go up to Annie.
Okay, Perk, you need to go the other way.
Oh.
Perk needs to go the other way.
Okay. This is weird because like now we're all looking the same way, but I know we're reversed. Okay, we're good. Okay.
Yes.
All right. 3,
Okay.
2. Wait, 3.
Oh.
2.
Okay.
1.
Awesome. My cat is like attacking me.
That worked perfectly.
Wouldn't buy without a hitch.
Oh, honestly, Shadowlands is as slick as that. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah, the cat is like, I want a high five too.
Aw.
All right, well, see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, Luna, I need to change scene, okay? Okay, she's not letting me. Wait.
Oh no.
Let's see. Okay, I think I got it. There, okay.
Yay.
There, yay! Bye-bye, everyone.
Yay, we did it.
Bye.